Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Starbase Weekly. We're at episode 78. My name is Mauricio, and I'll go ahead and pass this along to Indian Star.
Hey, everybody. Guess what? Flyover this week. Woohoo! Let me pass it over to Nate.
Hey, everybody. It's good to see everybody. I hope you're ready for all that we will learn through today's flyover.
All right. And I think we also have Jake with us. Jake's, hello. Thanks for joining us.
Hey everyone, it's been a while. It's good to be back helping out with the live stream, and I hope you're all having a great Saturday, and we hope you enjoy the live stream. And with that, I'll pass it back to Zach.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for joining us. I'm happy to be here. This is Zach from CSI Starbase. Yeah, we have an awesome show for you guys. We have a full house as far as hosts go. We do not have Thomas with us today, but we'll make some more announcements about that a little bit later. But yeah, it's an exciting Saturday as always. Really excited to be able to be here and cover all the updates at Starbase with you guys. And there's a ton happening. I mean, there's just endless amounts of action going on at Starbase, whether it's on the production site or at the launch site, or if it's, infrastructure wise or with actual vehicle development. So there's definitely a lot to cover this week. And with that, I think we should go ahead and hop right in. Actually, you know what? On that note, you guys can kind of see just how busy things are right here in this image. I usually like to start off with a long distance image because it doesn't spoil too much for the most part. But you guys can see, as always, that there's, tons of cars parked in front of the build site. And also just along the side of the road here. Usually don't see as many cars on the side of the road in front of the build site. So there's just a ton happening, and it's even more apparent at the launch site as well, too. So yeah, exciting times right now. Anybody who's been watching the live streams can probably attest to that they've been working pretty much nonstop over the last few weeks. So actually more like the last few months. But yeah, it's been really exciting. So let's go ahead and hop over to the Massey site, like I was saying. And Nate or Jake, Indy, one of you all want to start us off? What do you guys notice immediately at the Massey site this week?
Well, the first things I noticed is our booster test stand area that we think they'll use to hold booster stands is now full of concrete and has a QD going up, a tower to support the QD for the booster.
Yeah, they yeah. Go ahead.
And of course, as well, we've got the 3 horizontal storage tanks they got moved as well. And they managed to place 3 tanks on 2 sets of 4 pedestals, which is an impressive trick, actually.
Yeah, we got a lot happening over here. I guess let's go ahead and start off with that booster QD. I guess we weren't really all that surprised to see this get set up this week. They had basically, as of last week, all they had left to do was pour this actual top pad for the. Actually, sorry, this was actually finished last week, wasn't it? I believe it was. So yeah, we were just waiting for the actual booster QD.
Yeah, it's been at least a week and a half maybe since they poured the actual pad, I think.
Yeah, they're moving pretty quick with this. I mean, we've seen that they've had this pipework set up that should go over to that booster pad for quite a while now. They just haven't actually ran that over there. So we should be seeing actual the pipe runs be going over to the QD. And then I think the most interesting part will be the actual quick disconnect setup, because we've not seen what that looks like on a booster as far as something like this, which is technically like a stationary pad versus the launch mount where you're expecting it to actually retract and extend and connect to the vehicle. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do this one. I wonder if it'll actually end up being a little more mechanical, kind of like the one on the launch mount is, but I don't know. It doesn't necessarily look like it's set up for that, but it's kind of bare right now. Tough to tell. What do you guys think?
I mean, yeah, the QD framework here certainly beats the QD framework they got for the cryo pad at the launch site. That big sort of H-shaped thing, which it didn't look very permanent.
Right,
Yeah,
and just to show everybody what you're talking about there, let me bring that up really quick. I have a frontal image of it, but you can kind of see. Oops, this is the cryo station at the launch complex. So it's really just like a really small frame where they usually hang the flex hoses off of this, and this is much different than what we were seeing over at the Massey site, where they actually have a full frame, kind of like what we're used to seeing at the suborbital test stands and the ship cryo station as well. And sorry, Nate, what were you about to say?
I was going to say more or less what you just said. How definitely permanent compared to the hose hanging stand down at the launch site.
Yeah, and this is a little bit interesting over here, because they still have this this weird item that's being manufactured down here. We saw this last week, and it looks like they've added on like it I think there's like a whole nother plate on the backside of this. I'm not really 100% sure like what they added here, but it's like a full like disc now instead of kind of just being a flat wheel. Sorry, more like a wheel instead of a disc. Said that backwards. But no idea what this thing is. Do we have any? Let me see if I can get another angle on that.
I mean, yeah, my gut instinct wants to say it's possibly something to do with a puck shucker for the booster cryo station there. But then they've got the can crusher, which they could do the puck shucking on. So yeah, I'm not sure with this structure. I'm a bit torn at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, it like you were saying, it's really odd if it is can crusher related, just because they do have this booster test cryo station right here, essentially, or for puck shucking. But one of the big things that's missing here in general, as far as whether or not we should expect that kind of test here for boosters, is a crane that's large enough to lift the ship and the booster onto either one of these test stands. So we do have one crane right here, but this is not going to be large enough even to lift a ship. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see what they end up doing here.
Now, could they just start creating test tanks with pucks if they have puck changes, and use a test tank to test those at this point going forward?
Well, I mean, usually for the most part, before they integrate new things onto the vehicle, they do create a test article. Sometimes the test article does come after the actual vehicle is fitted with the new upgrades, but for the most part, it seems like they try and do the test article first. So yeah, I mean, it is a possibility, but even so, like, we usually will see them do another puck shucking test for the actual, like, especially if it's a booster. Actually, no, boosters and ships, we've almost seen every ship go through the puck shucking test up to this point, like up to ship 26.
Yeah, I think it's 26. Yep.
Yeah, up to ship 26. That's what we've seen so far. So, yeah, I mean, we haven't seen a booster go through that.
Well, at least they didn't need to be.
Right. Booster 9 was tested on its actual test stand, if I'm correct, right? Actually, hold on. Didn't they bring Booster 9 to the launch site and then never even tested it? I'm a little confused on that one. It's been a while.
No, I think it had 2 days worth of partial cryo testing, so it has started its testing campaign.
Okay. Yeah, that one is kind of escaping my memory a little bit, because I was like in the lead up to the first integrated flight test, so I kind of get lost on what happened with Booster 9 back there. Because I do remember, like, the first time they brought it to the launch site, it was there for a while, and then they didn't end up doing anything with it. But it never ended up on the launch mount, right?
No, it never came
No,
off the
no.
stand.
Okay, so they did it on the transport stand.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Right. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of what we're expecting to see here is Booster 10 show up here for cryo testing whenever this is actually complete. And on that note, I actually wouldn't be surprised if they brought out Booster 10 early, like while they're still trying to get all this done. I mean, the one problem with doing something like that is that you still need to pressurize the booster while it's out here, so that would kind of get in the way of them constructing the QD. So maybe we will be waiting a little bit longer to see what actually happens out here as far as like booster testing goes. But I mean, it looks like they're getting really close to being ready for that. We have these new tanks over here, and as you were saying, Jake, it is last week I was asking whether or not it's possible that they would put all 3 of them on here, even though there was only pedestals for 2 of them, and it looks like that's what they ended up doing. I kind of said it as a joke, like I didn't really think they would actually do that, but it does make sense as far as like your space constraints go. Like, you could potentially fit all 6 of these in this space right here if they were all like spaced out the way this is. So their tank farm situations are always interesting, to say the least. But I don't know. I feel like this one is the most.
That's the one thing I noticed the other day, that it did.
Oh, you're cutting out a little bit. You still with the Shake?
I think so. I think, yeah,
There we
the internet connection is not too clever right now.
Sorry, do you want to try one more time?
Yeah, so I
Man.
was just saying, I looking at the tank farm the other day. Are you coming through loud and clear, or are we still breaking up a little bit?
You're good. I think there might just
So
be.
yeah, I was just saying, I was looking at that tank. I was looking through the tank farm the other day, and I just found it funny that all 3 sets of tanks there are all spaced apart in different distances.
Yeah, exactly. I think the funniest part about that is the fact that, as far as we know, all of these are liquid nitrogen tanks, because they don't really necessarily have a need for liquid oxygen here yet. Or, truthfully, I don't think they'll ever really have a need for liquid oxygen here since they're not actually doing static fire testing. So, yeah, this is a interesting setup because truthfully, like you could have all of these directly next to each other, and still accomplish the same thing since all of them are nitrogen. But either way, as far as tank farms go, I think this one's a little bit more organized than both the suborbital and orbital tank farms at this point. But yeah, we have back here. They are actually still setting up even more vaporizers. I think these two were already in place as of last week. But yeah, there's like what 10 of them now. We have all kinds of canisters for. I think these could be either compressed nitrogen or they could be helium, but I'm pretty sure these ones over here are helium. But yeah, that even having helium out here is a bit odd to me, just because they're not doing actual engine testing, and as far as I know, that's mostly what they use helium for, is for that spin up process. So interesting that they still have those out here. I'm actually wondering if they're compressed nitrogen, but I'm pretty sure these ones over here are nitrogen. So a little bit less knowledge about what's happening out at this tank farm, especially since we don't really get to see it in operation. So it's kind of hard to tell like what's happening at different parts of the testing out here. Like usually we're able to learn from just watching the tests and see what happens at different stages. But a little bit more difficult out here since the only cameras that can really see this are the Raptor Roost camera and Rocket Ranch, which both have cameras pointed in this direction. So still trying to figure out what everything is out here. Go ahead.
Do we think that new wheel might have something to do with that ship thrust or puck shucker? Because that puck shucker, I'm assuming, will move back to that area because that ship cryo station is designed for a ship on a stand. So if you do a ship on a thrust puck right there, it probably is not going to line up unless they designed a thrust puck. They could have designed, I guess, that pucker to be the same height as a stand. That would alleviate that problem. But
I've been a little bit confused by this one just with the way that it's laid out. But I don't think there's an issue with like putting a ship on it unless, as long as you have a crane to get it up there. Yeah, I've been a little bit confused on this one though. So it does have, and it's actually even tough to see how many thrust rams are on this, because it seems like there's 2 on either, like 6 of these, which doesn't really make sense to me. So I'm not 100% sure like what's actually going on here, because usually you only have 1 actual piston per engine. And so yeah, this is a little bit odd to me. I'm actually wondering if this is if we haven't even seen what's going to go on here yet. Like this is just so much different than what they use for the puck shucking test at the launch site or the suborbital site. So yeah, I'm a little bit lost on this one. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
And same thing with this as well too. And I mean, on getting back to this one, like there's no pistons in the center for where the 3 gambling engines are. So
Yeah, they're all there. The pistons.
they are. Okay, hold on. Let me see if I can get that from an angle.
Well, at least I think they are.
That might actually be 1,
Yeah,
2, 3.
there.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen this.
Yeah, that should be them.
From a closer image.
I suppose if they designed this the same height as a transport stand, then it would interface with this ship QD just fine. I don't know if anybody's checked that to see if that height where the ship actually mounts to this versus a stand is the same.
Well, I mean, it's not like you could just drive it onto this, though. You know what I mean?
No. You got to have a crane. Yeah, we've talked about that in other places. The fact that they need a big crane over here to lift this stuff.
But you're saying that are you almost saying that there needs to be a transport stand on top of this?
No. So
No.
on some of the other cryo stations, because they built them on the existing test stands, they made sure the height matched. And I'm just verbally making the case they probably made sure this matches the same height as a transport stand. So
Right.
they can bring a transport stand and bolt it down, still connect the ship QD, or lift the ship on top of this thing when it's in place and be able to connect the ship QD. Yeah,
That makes sense. That makes sense.
If you if you want to see exactly where the ship will sit, if you zoom in a bit, you can actually see all the clamps
Yeah, the clamps are there.
on that lower layer there. So all the silver things.
Oh yeah, you can see. Oh, sorry, I was actually pointing in between the clamps. There's one right here. One right here. Yeah, I'm interested to see what ends up happening with this because we haven't, just the simple fact that we haven't seen a crane out here yet. I'm almost expecting to see like a special pad for the crane to sit on. Because next to the suborbital pads, at least suborbital pad B, they made a special like really deep foundation just for the crane to sit on when it's lifting ships, but they haven't done anything like that out here yet. It seems like there's lots of preparation for the SPMTs to be moving in and out of here, but not for an actual crane. But on that note, we do have this pathway, the driveway going towards the entrance, which is almost complete. I have a feeling this is probably already done by now.
Yeah, they move fast with concrete.
Yeah, and they might have already dug it up by now as well.
Yeah, I mean,
concrete never lasts in Starbase.
Oh yeah, very true, very true. I mean, this one looks like a permanent driveway that they're going to throw in here so that they can get the SPMTs in and out really easily. But yeah, I mean, I'm expecting to see like in the center of these two possibly, an actual pad for the crane to sit on, or maybe they'll just bring in the cribbing like they do in other locations. But I mean, I'm assuming that they're going to need a crane out here permanently at some point. So yeah, waiting to see the home for it arrive.
One thing I noticed when I was leaving Massey's is that there was a SPMT stationed at the entrance of Massey's Way, possibly to be moved towards Massey's. And as I was leaving Starbase, there was I'm not sure what it was. I think it might have been a transport stand being delivered to Massey's. It was at night, so I couldn't really take a good look. So not sure where that's going.
Oh, that was last night?
Yeah, that was last night.
Okay. And you didn't get that in the ground images, right? I went through in the ground pictures, but I don't think I saw.
No, it was at night. I didn't want to pull over because
Okay,
that road is real. It's pretty dangerous. So, but I did get a picture of the SPMT. But I mean, it's not that big of a update. So I didn't actually put it in there, right? Just thought I'd mention it.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, as far as like anything needing to move back from here, like I would kind of expect this nose cone to leave unless they're planning on stacking it on top of something else, which is totally possible. I don't know, with all of the structural supports that they added on here on the bottom, I don't think this can be stacked on top of a payload section, because this ring on the bottom is not actually part of the nose cone. So I don't know if they could do that, because they would have to cut the whole thing off perfectly in order to sit it on top of another one. So I have a feeling this will actually be scrapped soon. So I would kind of not be surprised to see them transport this back to the ring yard within the next week.
Yeah, plus the fact it's not exactly in good shape anymore either. It's a little bit dented further up.
Yeah, exactly. So not much use out of this thing right now. So but yeah, in other news, we also have just some random conduit being dug down here. Looks like they're just adding in comms for some of the valves and whatnot that are going to be in here. I honestly thought that this side was mostly complete, so not 100% sure what is going on here. But you know, they've been upgrading their electrical grid all over the place. I put out an episode last week, kind of explaining most of that stuff. I didn't even touch Massey's because at the time they really weren't doing a whole lot here as far as that goes. But yeah, there's just tons of underground work going on everywhere as far as that is concerned. But I don't know if there's anything else over down here that you guys kind of noticed as you're going through these.
I mean, we've got the black tower to the left of the tent. That was obviously what pulled down on the inside of the nose cone. It's got the 3 pistons on the top, and then I think there was another one running through the middle of it. Yeah, you're pretty much on it right there. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, so this was inside of the nose cone jail.
Yeah, the nose
Yeah,
cone
it's
kind of set
interesting.
down.
Yeah, it's
Go ahead.
interesting though why they removed that from that stand. Because you would have thought they'd have left it there for the next test article, but maybe something's been changed again.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the way that they remove that, it almost says that they're either moving on to a different type of test, which I guess I would personally expect a payload section on with the nose cone on top. So with that kind of setup, they probably can't use the same pistons in order to do that. Matter of fact, yeah, because usually if they put it on top of a payload section, I believe they would also need to have the forward dome on top of that as well, or sorry, on the bottom. And so, and then the reason for that is because they would probably, I guess, pressurize that payload section before they do that test, and so you need an actual forward dome section on there. And then that setup would no longer work with this thing on top. You would need to weld something on top of the forward dome instead of just on top of the stand right there. So could be a sign of what's to come. But let's see what people from the chat think. Let's do we have any questions on this section? Andy, I know we have a ton of donations that have come through in the first part of the show. So thank you everybody for those. Mindy, do you want to touch on those and also see if we have some questions?
Sure, I'll hit the donations and Mauricio's got the questions. We have our first donation from ENT, who donated $10 and says, first with the thanks and best wishes. Dean B donated $5 and says, let's go get the train in motion. Choo choo. Sharpie also donated $10 and says, help with aircraft fuel, costs, and keeping the train going. Choo choo. 55 Chevy Guy came in with $10 and says, let's get a donation train started. Ooh, things are moving. Hold, please. Yeah. He says, let's get the donation train started, and says these flyovers are amazing for us to see step-by-step progress of the major changes being made at Starbase. JK Video also donated $10 and says, choo choo. Scat 1975 donated 20 pounds and says, been so busy with big demo contract for the train tickets, I miss choo choo. All aboard? John D donated $10 and says, here's to another great episode. Team Space is all aboard. Jim C donated $10 and says that he's also in. Nose Cone Jail donated $10 and says the cage bird sings. James L donated $20 and says, gonna miss Thomas. Oh, it was fun having him with us. Life goes on. And Knitters, I believe is the name, donated 1.10 rupees. Thank you for your donations.
All right, so then we thank you everybody for donating, and we'll move on to the questions here. And the first one's from Crane Man. You will need a concrete pad or drag mats for such a large crane like the LR 11000 or the LR 1750.
Can you repeat that one more time?
I think it's more of a, I guess, information. It might not be a question. You will need a concrete pad or drag mats for such a large crane like the LR 11000 or LR 1750.
Yeah, he's more or less confirming what you were saying, Zach, about having a pad for the crane to move back and forth on if they bring a large crane down there. And it would take a 1750 or a 11,000 most likely for a booster. So
Right. Yeah, and um, I think I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see one of those show up within the next few weeks. Um, there is the one at the Sanchez site, but I just really don't think we're going to see that move back and forth here. So we may have another permanent crane arriving here soon. And yeah, it would probably be one of those two. I think it would. It almost makes more sense for it to be an LR 11,000, kind of like the ones at the build site and the one at the launch site, just because if they're going to touch boosters at all, then they're probably going to need something that large. So
yeah, it almost, without exception, I think, been 11,000 because of the wind configuration they're able to put it in and lift the booster. Just about anything else they would use, they would have to put a derrick on. I know that's crane talk, but it'd have to have a weight tray hanging behind it.
yeah,
And
the suspended counterweight tray.
yeah, and to move, you actually have to lower that tray, unload it, unless you do a Vero tray. But anyway, it adds a lot of the logistics that they don't have to use with the 11,000.
Right.
All right, so the next question here is from Adam J. Aren't they going to need more fuel storage to fill a booster with LN2 at Massey's?
That's a good question. I think that it's tough to know the total volume of this right here, but it's not impossible that this is enough to fill a booster. I think it may be close to it. Yeah, I mean, between these 9 tanks, I think you probably have enough to fill a booster. And the other thing is that they may not necessarily need to fully top off the booster when they do those tests. So, yeah, it is possible that this is enough to do what they need.
There is space for other tanks if they ever do need to add more. Yeah, we got that space there, and then to the left as well. They seem to have left a little gap next to the tanks at the top.
These ones?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been thinking that as well, that they may eventually add some here. I was kind of surprised that they didn't, but yeah, and I mean, even potentially, I feel like you could fit another 2 down here if you really wanted to. So, yeah, but the other thing, and I think we pointed this out last week, that they completely removed all the pipework that was going. Oh, it looks like they're actually rerouting it now. So the pipework that used to come across here for the can crusher, they removed all of that, and it looks like it's now coming around from this side. I can't really think of why they would extend it this far in this direction if it wasn't actually going to make its way all the way down here. So that's what it kind of looks like is happening there.
All right, let's cover a couple more questions here. The next one's from Hiccup. Do you think we could see another FTS test with B7.1?
B7.1.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Jake.
that's the test tank on the very right-hand side. Yeah, I'd say it's entirely possible that they could do another FTS test with that if they needed to. I mean, yeah, I didn't expect it would be 6, and they did it.
Yeah, I mean, on that note, it seemed like the B6.1 FTS test was pretty successful, so not sure if they necessarily need to do another one. But
we were talking about this the other day. I think if they continue or were to do another FTS test, we're actually talking about Booster 4 and how great of a donor it would be to do a FTS test. But at that point, moving forward, I think how similar is what you're testing to a current booster? I think that becomes a big question also.
Right. And, I'm a little unsure of how they're able to qualify an FTS from the ground. And I guess as long as you completely destroy the tank, then that's good. But the thing about the FTS system is that it's going to perform differently on the ground versus when you're at stage separation height, for example, like with that pressure differential up there. Punching a hole in the tank does something different at sea level than it does up there. So interesting whether or not testing it on the ground is enough to certify it up there. But again, if you're like fully splitting the tank in half, then I'm sure that it's probably doing its job. So
We have a couple more questions. There's two that are very similar, so I'll read them out together. First question is from Silver Surfer Stream. Any possibility they could use the chopsticks at Roberts Road instead of a crane here at Massey's? And then the other question was from M10. Would they build a permanent tower style crane at Massey's?
So yeah, on the first option, bringing the chopsticks here would also require bringing a tower here. So I don't think we're gonna see something like that happen. That would be quite a job to build that tower here. Like I don't really, it's not like there's not space for it, but yeah, I just don't think we'll ever see a tower without also seeing an orbital launch mount.
But real quick, Zach, did he say Roberts Road, RGV, Mauricio?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that'd be down at the Cape. So he's talking about the tower at the Cape. And
Right. Yeah, like moving that here.
Yeah.
There is worth mentioning that there is another set of chopsticks at Roberts Road being worked on. But yeah, I don't think they'd do something like that at Massey's. Tower crane, maybe. But yeah, not a full-on chopstick system.
Yeah, and I don't think I've ever seen a tower crane that's designed to lift 200 tons, but that would be interesting. I feel like it would be a rather large tower crane.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting piece of kit.
Yeah. I mean, just suspending the counterweights off of that alone would be interesting. But yeah, I mean, a mobile crane makes the most sense, just because you would want to be able to move it out of the way during testing. So, I mean, now that they have these tanks out of the way, they could easily back a crane into there when it's not being used or something like that. So yeah, something mobile kind of makes the most sense just because you want to get it out of the way. Well, I take that back because the chopsticks, they kind of raise those up and extend them out of the way. So it's kind of like the same thing, but yeah. So I guess I won't say it's impossible, but they better start on that soon if they're going to do that. Cool. So if we don't have any more questions about Massey's, then I guess we can move over to the Sanchez site.
While we move over, we can answer this one. The Joshua Braun asked, where did the tanks that came in on the boat go?
That is a great question. And that was only a single tank, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm assuming it's still at the port. Mauricio, you didn't happen to fly over there this week, did you?
No, I didn't get a chance, but we haven't seen it coming to the build site or launch site or Massey, so it's probably not. It's probably still at the port.
Yeah, I'm a little interested in what's going on with that tank just because it kind of looks like it's the same size as all the others. I mean, it's essentially the same size as these ones, which is about the same size as what's at the launch site for the methane tanks. And being that it's only a single tank out there or that arrived, I think that is one of the additional methane tank that they're going to be adding in there. And I don't know. I feel like whatever we're going to see for liquid oxygen and liquid nitrogen is different than what we're expecting. There's some signs of that we'll discuss once we get to the launch site. But yeah, I think whatever they do for the liquid oxygen and liquid nitrogen is going to be really interesting based on how they're getting set up for it. So cool. Well, yeah, now that we are at the Sanchez site, as you guys can see, it was a little bit cloudy out there today, but luckily Mauricio was able to get some good shots through the clouds. Um, and let me try and move over to the left side of the Sanchez site.
Oh yeah, we've got a nice little surprise down that far end of Sanchez.
Yeah, I think this might be a. Nope, not what I'm looking for. How about this one? Cool. Yeah, so as you guys can see down on this end of the Sanchez site, they have begun adding a new foundation over here, it looks like, or at least running some conduit, but um, they've marked out a foundation down here as well too, which I think, really looks like they're going to put a structure down here, and there's really only one structure that we can think of that would go down here. So what do you guys think? Is this the home of the new ground fabrication building?
I'd say it's very likely. Yeah, I could honestly see that going. I mean, they've got the temporary ground fabrication going on right next to the container wall there. So I think it makes sense to move the entire building, yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, uh, man, that would really like suck just to lose your workstation like in the middle of summer, and have your temporary stuff be outside like this. But yeah, this is. I feel like this is a lot smaller land to work with than what they had outside of the ground fab building, but um, yeah, I mean, this definitely looks like that's kind of where it's going to be going. It's tough to look. It's tough to compare the size of this though to what they had at the ground fab building.
I think, yeah, I think the big door in the main building, I think it'll either face straight towards the container wall or straight towards the back of Sanchez. I think that's going to be the orientation, and then on the right hand side you'll have one lean-to, and then on the left hand side you'll have the other lean-to.
Yeah, it looks like they've been clearing this out over here a little bit too, just to get prepared for it. And here we go. This is a better image for it. Why didn't I start with this image? Um, yeah, so you can see that they've been clearing some of this back here, getting some extra space back there. And they've kind of stopped up to this point, but I have a feeling they will be continuing that.
But yeah, I do agree with you. It does look a bit more tight for space up this end compared to where it is currently.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, of all places that it could possibly go, this is like my least favorite location for it. Um, just because it feels like it's super far away from pretty much everything. I was kind of hoping that this would end up being next to the Mega Bay, just because it like keeps it within the production site. But
Yeah.
there's
I
there's
guess
a good. Go ahead.
I guess it does kind of make sense it's going here though, because if you look obviously where you got a lot of other fabrication stuff going on the other side of the entrance there, obviously with the transport stands and other stands as well. Yeah, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, we could easily see. I mean, it could be more than, as far as the space they have, could be more than just this little corner right here. It may actually extend out to here because, once they finish with the Mega Bay, like ideally they won't have any other large construction going on for a while, like other than the Star Factory. Like unless they build another, either a third Mega Bay or another launch tower, like we may actually see Sanchez finally get cleaned up for once, um, and like actually be able to be permanently used for something else. But this is definitely one to keep our eyes on. I'm excited that the ground fab building is going to come back, and I feel like by the time this time next week we'll see some actual concrete down here once they finish up all of this conduit work that they have going on. But I'm
Yeah,
kind
I
of
mean
glad that. Go ahead.
it's it's pretty cool to see that obviously they are able to reuse this building rather than just totally demolishing it and getting rid of it.
Yeah, I mean, I can't tell if any of this stuff down here is from the other building. I know that I don't know if these AC units were attached to that building or not.
I think
But
there was a load. Yeah.
yeah, but we do know that all of this equipment over here definitely came from the ground fab building. So yeah, will be interesting to keep our eyes on this one as they continue to develop that. One thing I'm also hoping over this next few weeks is that we'll finally see a purpose for these, because these have been here for so long. Like we thought these were
Yeah,
going to
it
be
would be nice if
tower.
something actually happened with those.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I still can't think of a good place for them to go. It almost seems like they constructed it and then it changed the entire their plan for it. But really quick, just wanted to take a second and give a shout out to Felix from the What About It channel, who I just noticed is in the chat. So hello, Felix. Thank you for joining us today. Really awesome to have others from Team Space in the audience. So thank you. Yeah, also if you want to ever hop on the show, let us know. You've been on here before, so it'd be great to have you back at some point as well too. But yeah, continuing on, we have, of course, the big topic that we're all caring most about lately, which is the water deluge, or the water cooled steel plates, and they're definitely making a lot of progress on these. We can see that this one in particular looks like it's near completion. So you can see that they've finished connecting all the pipes to the actual manifold, to the steel sandwich, and they've also put a cover over those pipes. So kind of like how you can see these ones exposed right now, that's how this one was before, but now there's a sloped cover going over it. And it's looking like they're probably going to end up doing the same thing to this one and also this one as well. I think they're actually maybe in the process of doing that right now.
Yeah, you can see on the right there by the transport stand that there is actually another cover being worked on underneath that white tent.
Right here.
Yep.
Yeah, so this looks like it'll go on one of these two, and I guess they're both still uncovered right now. So yeah, it'll probably go across the back.
Hey Zach, real quick, I did send you a message through live comms. I managed to get a ground shot of the water cooled steel plates from a different angle that we haven't seen before. So you might want to check those out.
Yeah, cool. Let me see if this works. Oh, okay, so up here, right?
Yep.
Nice. So this is the open end facing towards the center. Yeah, there's some. I mean, it's tough to see from this angle what's going on here. I mean, we can definitely see the interior of it, but yeah, that's a really cool shot.
Yeah, if I'm remembering right, that is the smaller manifold, the one that's got the shielding going over the nozzles on it. I think that's that one.
Yeah, that makes sense because that's the one kind of facing the only one that's really truly facing the highway.
Yeah, yeah.
So that'll be this one right here.
No, actually, it will be the other one, the one in the top right.
This one?
Not the one that one right there, because you could see the input pipes in the other image. It should be that one.
Here, let me go back to that really quick. Really tough to tell, but yeah. Oh, so I can see now. So the second one is back here, right? And so
Yeah, that might be it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes more sense because of given the angle of it.
I was going to mention that I guess related to this, there was a concern, or not a concern, but I guess speculative that there's other manifolds inside of the inventory tent, right?
Right.
Well, when I was out there, I managed to take a good look, and also images, right? And I don't see any manifold. I see the water cooled steel plates, but I don't see the actual manifold. I checked it from both doors, obviously from public property, and I couldn't see any of that. But maybe, I don't know. I mean, they are working on it in there, so maybe it's well hidden.
Yeah, I mean, it's really tough to see in there. So when you are you able to like look more to the left when you're moving by it?
Yes, so
I'm
it
guessing
looks
it's
like
tough to see anything.
this plate is really up against the wall there, right? So technically it should be a little bit further away from the wall to be able to see the manifold if there was one, right? It would be further towards the inside of the tent because those
Right.
manifolds actually extend out. What is it? You know, if you get the measurements at least 2 meters or more,
Mm-hmm.
so it doesn't look like. And I checked it really good. I was like, I don't see anything. It could just be the water cooled steel plate itself.
Yeah, it's
I did. Go ahead, Zach.
Oh no, I was just gonna say it's. I'm really curious, like what else is in here, just because it's. I mean, we're only really able to see this front corner, so we don't know like how big this truly is.
So what I did is, I mean, if there's anybody out there, I went ahead and just did like a shuffle kind of thing, where you move as far right as possible, and then you start. Technically, you can map out what this plate looks like if you start moving at different angles. So I'm gonna try and experiment to see if we're able to stitch these images together like in a panorama form, to be able to get a full picture of what this thing looks like.
Right.
But
Yeah, and we're still waiting for we're still waiting for them to actually open up the tent as well too, because they still have the tarp kind of taken off, or not the tarp, but the cover taken off the outer edge of it. We were really hoping this was going to be open by the time of this episode, but still looks like they're just waiting to actually to do whatever it is they're going to do here, so we can actually see it.
Yeah, it's safe to say that they're doing a pretty damn good job of keeping us in suspense.
Yeah, I can agree with that for sure. Wonder if I have some more. Let me look through some more of these ground images as well too, for the Sanchez site area. But yeah, just give me 1 second.
And yeah, I did notice as well in one of the other looks inside the tent there was I think a hand drill on top of one of the plates. So I think they've been cleaning the holes out again in the tops.
Were you talking about one of these images? Hold on.
It was the first image you showed just now of inside the tent. You could see there was a hand drill on the left.
Let me get back to that one. The navigation through these images is kind of weird right now. There we go.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah. I really can't wait for this thing to get moved out, because I've just been like waiting to see what's going on in there for so long. It's also just interesting as it is that they're doing this in here versus outside, because all the rest of it's outside, but they do kind of have limited space going on at the Sanchez site right now, so I guess it's not all that surprising. But yeah, did you guys have anything else you wanted to add on that? We are going to talk about it a little bit more when we get to the launch site as well too.
Yeah, I think we're best to just wait until after. I think we pretty much discussed everything we need to right now with these at the Sanchez site.
Well, we do still have this large frame down here that's being worked on, which we have no idea what it's going to be used for yet. Not really seeing much more progress on that as of right now, though.
Yeah, I think they just did a bit more welding of the framework together to get a bit more solid, and then they just seem to have pretty much stalled now.
Yeah, I've been thinking pretty hard about what this could be used for, but um, yeah, I haven't really come up with any ideas. I haven't really seen any ideas in the chat other than, a possible flame diverter. But I mean, right now it just looks like a ramp, and I don't really see like what they would drive up a ramp other than SPMTs, and that would be kind of weird, especially moving their or not the transport stand, but their Raptor maintenance platform up that, because a lot of times they like to actually have a Raptor on that platform. So I just have a hard time imagining them drive up a slope like this with that. But
I mean, the SPMTs can, they can level force slope surfaces, but I think this looks a bit too much.
Yeah.
It's a ramp until it gets laid on its end and becomes a rack.
There was a question on the water-cooled steel plates before we move forward from Cranky Old Man. Are the holes in the vertical plates in the steel sandwich baffles to reduce water hammer?
Which holes? Oh, like on the inside?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
I would imagine that's allowed to allow water kind of equalization and continue to have your strength to keep your plates separated, your two halves.
Right. Yeah, because you don't want solid walls through there, or else you're like forming channels for it to move through instead of it being like one large volume that you can just. It's all like what's the right word to say? Each compartment is essentially connected together because of these holes. So I don't think it has anything to do with actual fluid dynamics as much as it is just allowing water to be equally distributed through the entire plate. Any more on that question?
No, that was the last question there. We can move on to a different topic.
I'm curious how they're going to thread something into those holes. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, I mean that is one of the really odd things that they are threaded.
Like the
I still
smallest
can't
guy
make
at
much sense out
Starbase
of
is
that.
going to have to crawl in there.
Yeah, I mean I can only imagine what would happen if you cross threaded something that large.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't even want to think about
that. All right. Well, I guess moving on a little bit, we have the Megabay sections, which are just like moving ridiculously fast. Every time we get aerials of them, we never really see them like being assembled as much as they look like they're already completed. Other than this one right here, like they're just moving so fast on these things. It seems like they're completing them faster than they're able to actually stack them. But on that note, we do have the first 4 from level 1 have all been. I don't know if you want to call it level 1 or level 2, but yeah, the first level of sections have all been stacked as of this morning. So yeah, I mean they're making tons of progress and definitely faster than I was expecting with the amount of space that they had. So it's really impressive to me, like the pace that they're moving with these. And they moved another one out over last night as well too. So
Yeah, I think the last section of level 2 was lifted this morning, and then they got the first section of level 3 sitting nearby, waiting to be lifted now.
yeah, this one right here moved earlier in the week, and then I think it was this one that moved last night. So
Yeah,
this is
sounds
a
about right.
very very quick assembly going on down there. Oh wow! I just
Yeah,
noticed
I'd
a
say
pretty
the
huge formation come through
oh wow, that's quite something.
from Anthony Gomez. Indy, did you want to touch on donations really quick?
Sure. We just got a huge donation from Anthony Gomez, who was kind enough to donate $99.99 and says, "Thank you for educating our community and keeping so many of our content creators up to speed. We watch your show at Rocket Ranch every week, wondering if anyone has any thoughts on the FAA lawsuit and how it will affect the next launch. Speculations, and he loves you all." Thank you, Anthony.
Thanks, Andy.
Let's see. Well, yeah. First of all, thank you, Anthony. Really appreciate the support. And for those of you who are staying down in the area, if you ever go down there for launch, Rocket Ranch is an awesome place to stay for that. And now they're already got availability for the next launch. I think they launched their new promo video for that recently over the last week. So, yeah. Oh man, my policy is I usually don't speak on 3-letter agencies too often unless it's my 3-letter agency, CSI Starbase. So, oh man, I honestly feel like, I don't know if he's still in the chat. Felix may have more opinion on that than I do. I haven't been following it too much. Have you guys?
Not really.
I know that there was, I know a little while ago SpaceX asked if they could get involved as well, and have their say. And I think I remember the FAA getting back saying they weren't too keen on the idea.
That's right.
Although I don't think there is anything stopping SpaceX being able to join in though.
I think it's an FAA problem first. Then once that is dealt with, it becomes a SpaceX problem. So I don't think it's anything short term to be worried about. But I'm not a lawyer, so.
But you play one on CSI Starbase and RGV.
No. And I didn't stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night, so.
Yeah, I mean, there is always that possibility. Those processes aren't always the fastest, so it's really, really tough to say on that one. I mean, I hope that it's all going well. They've been kind of silent about most of it ever since SpaceX asked to become a part of that. So, sometimes silence is a good thing. Other times it could be bad news. But yeah, I mean, with the way they're pressing forward on everything, I think that whatever needs to be done as far as regulations go will probably happen before they're actually finished with all of their alterations to the launch site. Cool. Do we have any other questions as well?
We have another donation from from Felix, who donated $20 and says, some coffee money for the team. And then 55 Chevy Guy donated another $10 and says maybe 26 or 27 may end up being an in-flight FTS test.
Oh.
But lots of questions. Mauricio, I don't know if you want to ask some questions.
There is Felix from What About It did reply back about giving his opinion on that, and that Elon did reply what says Elon replied to me on Twitter that the community might be able to help at some point. That could become important.
Yeah, for sure. Sometimes I think we potentially hurt more than help, but everybody did their part when it came to the PEA, like their comments on there, as far as from supporters, both people for and against. So it's always good to have some positive voices from the community out there to give their input on things as well too. I do to some degree wonder like how much effect we can actually have, just because it truly is like a government agency doing government work. So they just have policy, and I feel like it's probably difficult for us to sway their opinion on policy in that way. But do we have anything else?
We don't have any questions at this moment, so we can move on. And also, we have Jax in the chat, so just whenever you need him, call him out.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us, Jax. But yeah, I mean, other than that, over at the Sanchez site, I'm noticing that they got some. This looks like underground conduit work, the way that this path is right here. And that's pretty interesting, because I have been thinking that if any of you saw my most recent episode, I wasn't really sure whether or not the build site was connected to the Sanchez site. So similar to how they're digging a trench from the launch site all the way to the Sanchez site, was expecting that they would actually connect the Sanchez site and build site. So there's a bunch of vaults down here, and then there's another set right here. And after going through like 4 years of images, I wasn't able to find any proof that these are actually connected. And so now it's kind of looking like they put something down here, and the way that it's shaped, I can only imagine that it's conduit down there. But it's weird that they didn't also dig up everything in the front of this, so it kind of stops there. And without having any shots of what happened before they poured this, is really tough to tell for sure what they did there. But just by the shape of it, it kind of looks like it may have been on to something there. But we'll probably be able to see a little bit more if they actually continue to dig this up down towards the road over here.
Yeah, and it's obviously worth mentioning what that conduit's actually running through right now, or what we might be seeing go in there soon, which would be another possible booster holding pad.
I highly doubt that. If there's conduit down here, I don't think they'll put a booster on top of it. And that's just purely off of not wanting to press down on all of this. So from what I know, some of the issues that they had in the past with providing power to the village in particular, a lot of the disruptions happened when boosters or like just heavy machinery in general ran over the underground lines. And so bringing in, a 200 and something ton vehicle on top of this may not be the most ideal. And on that note, we've kind of seen some interesting things for how they're going to protect the stuff that's going in front of the build site. So we'll get to that here in a little bit. But yeah, I don't know. The problem with putting a booster pad here is that it will have to be moved forward just a little bit, and then that's actually in the middle of the road. So yeah, I don't know.
And I suppose there's the case as well is where did the embeds go around that conduit? So yeah, I think you may be right there actually.
Yeah, I would love to see another extension to the rocket garden down here. I feel like with the flaps folded in, you could probably fit like 3 ships here, like 4 along the bottom, and then another 3 there if you really, really wanted to. Maybe up to, I don't know, like 8 vehicles here, possibly. It'd be a tight fit, but at least 6. So, yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see the way this develops.
Yeah, well, if you're storing and that's all you're doing there, then you can also add a center column, a center row in between all that also, and throw a few more in there.
Oh man, that would get things really tight.
They like
yeah, and I mean one day if Starship really does ever reach the launch cadence they wanted to reach and the amount of reuse, I think there will have to be pretty much an entire facility for storing boosters and ships that are waiting to be launched. Yeah, they're going to need a lot more than this at some point, I think.
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure. And let me, I'm going to actually move some stuff around here in the background so I can get some ground images ready before we get to the build site. So just give me 1 second.
And also, one thing that we didn't mention are the exposed pilings. I don't know, Jake, do you want to go over that?
Yeah, sure. So in the scrapyard, was it, I think, March of this year, we saw pilings being installed in the ground there. And then they were covered over until about, I don't know, 2 weeks ago. And yeah, we've seen them being exposed again now. And we're still not 100% sure what's going to be going on these pilings, but there's a good chance it may be the cooling towers, that the extra ones that I've delivered a while ago. Maybe something related to that. I mean, yeah, I'm sure Zach's probably got more of an idea of what might be going there.
It's tough to say. I mean, these are this has been bothering me for a while because they're just so randomly placed here. They don't really make like any kind of pattern like they usually do. But yeah, I mean, it is possible. I mean, they didn't really do any of that kind of ground preparation work for any of the other stuff down here, so I'm a little bit confused on this. And it just seemed so random when they placed these down here. But yeah, I think over the next few months we'll probably see some action with that. I'm a little unsure of what to think about it right now, though. But we do have all of this equipment that they're definitely going to be using to expand this site here in the near future. So it is a possibility that we'll see those go right here. I personally think that they'll remove everything that's over here, but this right here is kind of permanent in the ground, so I don't know if they would actually be able to do that. There's a lot of conduit going down here, so. Anything else at Sanchez site we need to touch on?
I mean, there's nothing really major. There was obviously, yeah, you got the retaining wall around that parcel of land.
Yeah, it looks like
Yeah,
they're building
SpaceX
a
still haven't
road
managed to
through
get
here.
their hands on it.
Yeah, I see them building this road down through here, which will be interesting because with the way all the storage is right here, I can't really see how they'll be. Well, I guess if they need to move things in between here and the Mega Bay, that road would be helpful because it gives them access to that storage, and then they can just move up through here. That's the only real reason I can think of is for forklifts to come in and out of here. But other than that, I can't really see what other vehicles will be moving through here. Definitely not semi trucks. So.
Or could it literally just be just more storage down there?
Yeah, I mean that is a possibility that they just want to extend the wall where they're able to store things. So yeah, I feel like once the water cooled steel plates move out of this building, that we'll see a lot of this stuff move in here because I think it's just kind of taking up space inside of their inventory tent. And the other problem is that, if not for the ground fabrication building currently being disassembled, we may actually those probably would be being worked on inside of that building instead. So it could just be taking up space right now. Cool. So let's move over to the build site. And right now, I think Jax is going to be joining us as well too. I'm going to show some ground images because we have some more good work on the Mega Bay right now. So it looks like they've kind of stalled on window install. This is kind of what it looked like last week. Although I could be wrong, but I think the scaffolding up here is new. But yeah, it looks like just on this side they only
Yeah,
have.
I think.
So, Jaxie, why don't you join us?
Hello, everybody.
Jesus, you're loud. Maybe that's on my side.
Am I too loud?
No, you're perfectly fine.
Okay, well, that is good. I hope everybody is having a wonderful Saturday. And yeah, I think it's time to move towards the build site. So
yeah, I'm excited. I haven't been able to pay too much attention to what's going on with the build site other than the construction. So glad you're here to help out with that. Let me go ahead and get us over there. So, what do we have going on over here, Jax? We'll touch on the Mega Bay stuff later. But let's start off with what's going on with the ships.
Yeah, so I guess this week there's actually been a lot of progress, and that's been with both most visibly Starship 28 and Super Heavy Booster 12. And we'll touch on that in just a second, because the work they're doing on them now is going to facilitate when they can begin on the next vehicles. And one of the upcoming vehicles, Ship 30, its nose cone is in the ring yard now. You can see the tiled one up there, and Ship 30 is a new revision generation of vehicle. And I think that's something that we can touch on a bit today is some of these changes they're making to the vehicles, because there's been a lot of developments on that this week. I think if we can pull up a shot of that nose cone, looking at it on the leeward side, the shiny side.
From the ground or from the air?
From the air.
Okay. Let's see. I don't know if this is going to be enough.
Oh, that's good. So if you zoom in right on that nose cone, I think the first kind of weird thing we pointed out, I was talking with Nick, Chameleon Circuit, a pretty talented 3D modeler, and we saw this piece on the side of the nose cone. It looks kind of yellow, and nothing is supposed to be there. And
Right here?
So yeah, right there. So it was kind of like something's going on. So we went on a little bit of a time looking through some photos, and if we can pull up a ground photo of Ship 28 in the high bay from the side, I know Mauricio has a shot of that. There's been some pretty interesting work going on because we're seeing some changes happen to these vehicles that I don't know. It's almost like they weren't necessarily planned to begin with. There's a photo from a little bit earlier in the gallery that's looking at it a bit more side on. Yeah, right there. If we can zoom up to around that area on its nose cone up top, you'll have to zoom in pretty closely.
We're looking at like right here.
Down just a little bit more. Continue down, and we can see there's a dark spot on that photo.
Right here?
Right there. That is a hole. And I was playing around with editing the photo a little bit. I haven't sent that over, but there is a hole there. There's actually a couple. So it's pretty interesting what's happening here, because they're going back to this ship and almost just changing the design on it. They're saying we're going to do this now instead of later. We came up with this new design. And if the leading theory is that these holes are vents, possibly for some kind of, I guess you could say some kind of attitude control system. It's unclear. There's something going on, but there's definitely a hole there. I can tell this. I can say that for sure. And
so you think it's like RCS thrusters, essentially?
It could be something to that effect. Yeah, and we don't know where it would be pulling from. If it would be from the autogenous pressurization system, if they could steal gas from that, or if they could go as far as pulling liquid from the headers and trying to expand that in the pipes to use as thrusters. There's various possibilities they could to what they could do, but it does seem that they are going back to Ship 28 and adding in what's likely to be some form of an RCS system. Yeah, now I guess we'll see that be developed over time, but Ship 28 is
able to be seen on the ground, and there's probably no ground images that show it on this one.
There was one angle, but we didn't quite get that angle on this gallery, so maybe we can get that next week or something. But
okay.
Either way, there's some interesting design changes happening, and I'm going to kind of ramble on a little bit here. I like to do that a little bit. And Ship 28 had another very, very strange development this week when they grabbed its payload door and pulled it out. So you can see that the payload door on 28 is gone. Now it's not open. They attached the bridge crane to it and just pulled it out.
Wow.
Just who needs doors anyway?
It's not entirely clear what they're doing. This is not the steps they followed when ceiling 24 and 25, so that does not seem to be what they're doing.
Yes, much better than a plug and a doubler.
Yeah, so I suppose they could maybe have found or maybe they have a new design for the door or something like that, but it's not there.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
Any thoughts on like why they would? Like, I don't get how you would get it out and as a full like piece, like without cutting it in half or something.
So they somehow, through, I'd assume, a ton of chain hoists, turned it sideways inside of the ship and sort of slid it out of the door through the the thin
gap.
side. Yeah, through the gap between those struts. Like I have no clue how they did it, but they did it.
Interesting.
Yeah, I would love to have seen that up close.
I sent a image through the live comm Zach. I don't know if you want to check it out. It might be that what Jax is referring to. Jax, maybe you can confirm.
No, that's not quite it. That one is another one of the vents that's used for pressure control on one of the header tanks. Maybe I don't know. I don't actually know. There's been a lot of questions raised about the nose cone this week because they did some scrapping of some parts, and we've been learning a lot about what the inside looks like, and that breaks some theories, introduces new ones, answers some questions, etc. So that should be pressure control on one of the header tanks. Yeah. Do we have photos of Booster 12 at all? I can't remember.
Do you want ground images?
Yeah,
whatever
we
we
got
have.
a pretty clear shot of it.
Cool. Yeah.
There's another photo that's way more to the right.
Oh, hold on. What's this?
Yeah, it's better.
Oh, this is really cool because you can see booster 11.
Yeah, that is Super Heavy Booster 11 back there, which was fully stacked a couple weeks ago. And actually, if we take a zoom on Booster 11, we can kind of, let's take a look maybe on how far along they are with that stacking. If we go down to the middle around the common dome, maybe we can see that it's welded now. We can see that the tank is definitely welded together, the methane tank onto the liquid oxygen tank. Yeah, and
Hasn't this one been fully stacked
which
for a
side
few
of
weeks?
it would we?
I don't know. 2 weeks, maybe? Yeah, because Booster 12 started stacking 2 weeks ago. And Booster 12, in those 2 weeks, the liquid oxygen tank is now 20 rings tall, and it had the large fuel transfer tube, the downcomer, lifted inside of it. 2 days ago, I think.
Yeah,
Interesting.
Sounds about right.
Have they started stacking the methane tank for this?
They have. That is currently 6 rings tall. And if we go back to the flyover photos, we can see the parts of the methane tank sitting outside of Mega Bay. They had the forward dome and one of the tank sections, and it's pretty interesting because when we see parts like this, I guess it's the general design of Super Heavy. Like, there haven't been revolutionary changes to it. Like, as much as each vehicle is different in various ways, you could look at the booster and still say, yeah, that is Super Heavy. And you could compare it to Booster 4 and you'd be like, they're both super heavy boosters. And I feel like that's kind of the design phase that they might be in. And I suppose that could change, where much of the architecture of Starship is finding a nice place where they're getting happy with it, but obviously anything can change. Yeah. So the methane tank is currently 6 rings tall for booster 12. And I believe they were setting up another section for stacking this morning. I believe I read somebody talking about.
Or a different one?
A new one. It was in the ring yard at this point in time. We can probably find it. It's a 3 ring tall section. It's just below the ship forward dome in this section.
Mm,
Right
Yeah,
above your
you might
cursor.
you might have a ground shot of it as well
Yeah, so
outside
it's
Mega Bay.
it's just the ring section directly right. That one right there. So that's the next one that's going to be stacked. And the final component of the methane tank is 2 to the right, kind of on the outer edge of the ring yard. Yeah, those are going to make up the rest of Booster 12's methane tank. So, yeah, Booster 13, there are parts of it in the yard. Although they are strangely underdeveloped. That is a trend that has been happening. Multiple parts have been sent out underdeveloped at Starbase. No clue why. They seem to be continuing.
Like where they don't have the like partial stringers on here.
Well, not even that, but like those booster forward dome sections, there are 2 of them in the yard. Those are abandoned now. Those don't look like they'll ever be used. And the ring section directly up and left from the one you're on right now, that's a LOX tank section for a booster, and it would be for booster 13, but like they don't have their autogenous pipework mounts, they don't have their COPV mounts installed. It's just peculiar that they skipped this stuff. I mean,
Do you think
maybe
they're just running out of room in the Star Factory and they are like prioritizing certain things as they need it?
Yeah, it may very well be that. That's definitely one of the theories as to what's happening. And that booster aft dome section there, you can see it with the liquid oxygen header tank in it. That is very underdeveloped. It's just weird. I guess that's what I'll call it. It's a little bit weird.
Yeah, I mean, considering what these look like out here, I wonder what all is on the inside of the tents right now.
Yeah.
Like, sorry, what you said this is 14?
14 or 15, something like that.
Okay, and they're stacking 12. So that means 12 and 13 must be inside of the Star Factory right now, or one of the tents.
I think they're in tent 1. Last we saw, they were in tent 1, and it's just, I think storage is going to become an issue very soon because they're stacking. It takes them about a month to stack a ship from start to finish, maybe a month and a half. A booster was trending just over 2 months with booster 11. They can probably go faster on booster 12. So where are they going to put these vehicles? Not only do you have vehicles to put in places, but the sections to produce them. I just don't know what their plan is. It's definitely something to think about, right? Because they want to build these things significantly faster than they are now. And while they want to be launching them at a super high cadence, that's not going to happen in the extremely near future if we're talking about this year. And probably next, if we're being honest, or the year. Either way, the Starship's goals are pretty out there. So the way they're going to logistically accommodate that will be quite the sight to see.
Yeah, I imagine that like as soon as most of the major work on the Mega Bay is done, that they'll reclaim all this space right here for storing rings. But yeah, it's gonna be kind of crazy. I mean, obviously, the ring yard will probably be split in 2 right here once they're finished with this. But yeah, that's just a ton of like issues. I feel like in the meantime, like as they're continuing to stack these vehicles.
Yeah, and like I said, something weird is happening at the production site right now. I believe it would have been last week or the week before or something. We would have talked about the nose cone exodus in Starbase, where a handful of nose cones were scrapped, and at least 3 of them, Ship 37's, 36, and 35's nose cones have been scrapped. Ship 34's nose cone is visible in the center of this image. I anticipate that it will be scrapped. So what they're doing, something's happening. I don't know what it is. It could be design changes. It could be them stopping production. There are various possibilities. And if you have any ideas, post it in the chat, because I'm good at looking at what's happening now, but I prefer not to speculate too deep into what it means. Yeah.
I mean, it would make sense to me, like if they were putting a halt on production for a little bit. With the amount of nose cones that we've seen get scrapped over the last few weeks, it would definitely make sense for them to do something like that. I mean, just because it seems like they're way outpacing themselves right now. Like if they launch a ship every 2 months, then we have, ships at least for the next, like we have 25, 26, 27, 28, and 29, which are all fully stacked. So, I mean, that's 10 months worth of ships right there. So it would make sense, in my opinion, to see some sort of slowing in production soon. But I'm not sure what you fill that time with. You know what I mean? Like, what do you do if you're not producing ships?
Yeah, and I think that's the issue. We know that they're building out this Star Factory right now, and I'd imagine that'll be a whole topic. But it's just strange. And I mean, we have Ship 27 in the Rocket Garden right now, awaiting its cryo campaign. Or, maybe not. Who knows what's happening with 26 and 27? I hope they fly. I just want to see more flights. But, there's tons of speculation about that. Everybody seems to have a different opinion. So 28's finishing up its tiling in the high bay. They started tiling the wells this week, probably suggesting that it's finishing up work. So now they have 27 and 28 awaiting their own cryo testing campaigns simultaneously. 25's at the pad preparing for Flight 2. 26 has its engines waiting for its static fire campaign. The ships are stacking up, and I just hope they can keep up with the testing, because it's going to be a lot.
Yeah. Does 29 have flaps?
29 has its forward flaps.
Okay, but no aft flaps yet.
Not yet. And Ship 28 right now still only has one aft flap. Although I believe they moved one into the ring yard, maybe?
Yeah, it was yesterday. There was one seen lying between Mega Bay 1 and the High Bay.
Cool. So that's something we can expect to see soon. Keep an eye out on Lab Padres Rover 1 camera or something like that, because we'll probably see that second aft flap go on soon.
I have seen something in the chat. Somebody said maybe they possibly found an issue with when they did the test on the nose cone jail.
I hope not. That's what I'll say to that. I really hope they didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that would mean for the ships that are already produced. I mean, I wonder if that's just a thing that affects. I highly doubt it's something that would affect Max Q, because obviously we've seen them survive Max Q already. So I would assume that would almost be like a re-entry thing.
Yeah, nose cone 31 seemed to buckle towards one side, didn't it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Instead of being branched all the way around.
Yeah, so they could have been pressing on it from applying lateral forces. And I guess the only, I was going to say contradiction, but it might not be. They are pushing forward with 31, 32, and 33's nose cones. I guess maybe it doesn't matter, they only verified 24's nose cone design a week or two before it launched. It was worryingly close to the launch, and I feel like all of 24 structural testing had the word worrying before it, because that was one of the craziest things that they ever did.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, but so 24's nose cone, like, certifying that should affect everything that comes after it at this point, right? Because there hasn't been any major design changes unless you're talking about like the payload section itself.
The nose cone, I mean, I believe there have been, in terms of structure, tiny changes, and I think they have added a few more internal stringers by the load points that the chopsticks lift it by on ship 28s and onwards. But I don't know if those are just like if their primary purpose is for lifting the vehicle rather than supporting in-flight loads. And nose cone 31, I think they tested it a couple of times. I feel like there would have been I don't know. I'd like to think that they wouldn't press forward with the nose cones if there was a structural flaw. That's
Right.
where I'll leave it. Yeah.
Well, you never know. I mean, because if they're able to do everything they need for like actually getting to orbit and launching payloads, then it may not be a huge deal, and it really only affect reentry. But yeah, I mean, it definitely would be kind of worrying for sure.
Yeah, it would.
And so, as far as nose cones that we've seen scrapped, you said that they're 35 through 37?
35 through 37 right now have been scrapped, yeah. And they were just unfinished half nose cone sections, but they are scrapped. There might have been one in the dome yard during this flyover, potentially.
Let's see. Hold on.
Yeah, there was.
I will
It was,
check over
yeah,
in
the
this
top
area.
half.
Yeah,
Down
so
here.
you can see ship 35s right there, and that was scrapped the other day. And Starship Gazer posted a video on his YouTube channel, and you could actually I think we've only seen 3 photos now of the methane header tank on Starship, but we saw it again. That was nice.
Once they took it apart, yeah.
The ever elusive methane header. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what else I have to talk about myself. It's been a busy week. Like I said, they're always moving faster. And I think with that, I'll let you talk
Is this the
about.
flap for 28?
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you, Jax. Really helpful having you for the build side stuff. If you want to stay along, we'd appreciate that as well too, but understand if you have stuff to do.
Oh, thank you. I'm going to head off right now, and maybe I'll come back later. Maybe I won't. Either way,
All right.
Thank you for having me. Everybody, I hope you have a great day, and I will see you all later. Bye.
Thanks, Jax.
Thanks, Jax.
See you, Jax.
Cool. Well, let's also take let's talk about the Mega Bay as well too. We have some cool images from the ground of that, so I'll show those. This is a little bit obstructed. I'll see if I can find another one. But yeah, as of this morning, the first level has been fully stacked. Man, this looks crazy from this angle because with the way the bottom is not filled in yet. But yeah, this is really, really crazy how fast they're moving on this. So essentially you have, and I'll go back to the aerial for a little bit, you have the actual sections being stacked at, or being constructed at Sanchez, and then all of the prefab work for the sections that connect in the middle. So like their little T fittings or that go in the middle. Those are being. Oh, am I on the wrong image?
Showing the right thing. Yeah.
Whoops. There we go. All of the the T sections that go in the middle right here are being pre-assembled in this area, I believe. I don't see any laying on the ground back there, but I believe they're pre-assembling them over here, and then like as soon as these sections are being lifted, they're just lifting in the middle connector pieces and just moving on to the next one. So they're going super fast right now. They have all of I guess level 2 or level 1, whichever you want to call it, completed. And I mean, it's really, really impressive just the rate that they're moving right now.
And yeah, not as exciting, but you can see as well that they've been starting to assemble the staircases to the left of the Mega Bay.
Yeah, these actually look a little different to me than the other ones, because these are a little more square than what I remember seeing on the other ones.
They are.
Yeah,
They're a little dinkier. They're not quite as robust looking.
Yeah, they almost look like permanent scaffolding stairs more than actual stairs, like for the corners. But that'll be really interesting. And we do see the one actual set of stairs down here. So
and there's
maybe
more
they
to
just
the left as well.
right.
Yeah, loads more there.
Yeah, and see, so I feel like they didn't really start this stuff until near the end on the last building. They were pretty much lifting all the stairs in before they did the roof, and I have a feeling this time they'll probably start doing it as they're going, which would be nice because that's just one less thing to do once you have the roof on, and it's way easier to do it without the roof on the building. But yeah, it's really, really great progress over there. And
Yeah,
you know,
it seems like it seems like stacking of this base seems to be catching up with actual constructions of these corners as well now. They seem to have reached a nice balance.
yeah, agreed. You know, just off of for speculating here, like if they were to add another Mega Bay, like I mean, I can't even imagine them having a need for a fourth one or a third one. But if they were to add one, where do you think that would go? Do you think that would be back in this corner, or do you think? I feel like being up here would be really weird because it's like asymmetrical from what they have, unless they put it right here. I just can't really necessarily imagine that happening. You'd have to like move the entrance over here, but I do feel like at some point they'll need
Yeah,
another one, just not right now. But I just can't imagine where it would actually go.
I mean, yeah, ideally you want any bays being used, you want them all facing the ring yard. The entrance is facing the ring yard, so yeah, it's good to go in the mid bay area, I guess. I think if they went up in that patch of dirt to the left of Mega Bay 2, I think that might just be a little bit tucked out the way too much.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to get behind it the way they are right now with the crane back there. So
Yeah.
make things a little difficult.
They obviously wouldn't do this because we've kind of seen the plans for the Star Factory, but I've always thought it would almost, you bring it into one of those off the end of Star Factory and almost, you almost have a Mega Bay integrated.
Next
So
to
you're
it.
bringing those sections in and lift and stack, and it never has to go outside.
I hope they don't do that.
Right? I don't think they're going to, but
Yeah, I mean, being able to have to stage everything out here makes it so we actually get to see what's going on, and it would kind of suck if you didn't really know what was happening until you see them actually being stacked in there and never get to see them being moved around. But yeah, this is going to be really, really crazy once it's actually finished. And since you mentioned the Star Factory, we might as well move on and talk about that as well too. So as you all can see this week, they've actually started. They've came through with the concrete saw, and they've actually cut out the outline for the most part of where this new structure is going to be. So yeah, that they're making some big progress over here. The ground fabrication building is nearing completion as far as deconstruction goes. They've already taken off the front door a few days ago. This has a lot less on it right now in today than it is in this image. And matter of fact, I think we have some great ground images that I should touch on.
Yeah, I think today they actually started taking down the whole roof beams. So yeah, it's very nearly completely gone now.
Let's see what I have for ground images up here. I'm just scrolling through the thumbnails for them, which you guys can't see, unfortunately. Sorry about that. This is a good one. Yeah. So as you all can see in this image, they've almost all of it's. Whoa! I didn't realize they had that. Maybe I did know that. I guess I didn't realize there was a 12-ton bridge crane there.
Yeah.
Wonder how long that's been there.
Quite a long time, I think.
It must have been there
Yeah,
since
quite
the
a long
beginning
time.
of this. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I had no idea that was in there. But that definitely makes sense considering all the heavy items they're usually lifting in here. So, yeah, we can see that they've pretty much deconstructed everything. They've taken it apart pretty carefully. I mean, there's a few pieces that are a little bit bent, but as far as the main structural steel, all of that is being disassembled piece by piece and lifted off here. And as we mentioned at the beginning of the show, they'll probably reassemble this more than likely in the Sanchez site, which will be exciting to see. But yeah, I mean, as of right now, I think they've even gotten this section off right here as well too. So moving very fast with that.
Yeah, I've got to admit, it's going to be pretty strange not seeing this building at that end of the build site anymore. Obviously, along with the low bay as well.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I feel like if you've ever visited Starbase and then going back out there and having all this stuff be gone will be pretty odd to see. And man, I mean, having this massive star factory in place of it's going to be really awesome. So you can see looking down from the side of the building in one of the sections where they have all of the roof pieces on already, and they're moving very quickly. And we can see that even better from the air, just how much progress they made within those few days from the time that image was taken. So at this point, they only had one of those roof panels on, and now at this point, they have three of them. And so they're about halfway across with this one, I think.
At this point, we're not expecting a door on the right-hand side, right? Because that's going to cause issues with visibility as for us.
You know, I can't imagine a door on this side. I feel like, you know, at least in the beginning, there'll probably be a door right here so they can move stuff out in between those two tents. Or sorry, in between the two buildings. And then eventually they will actually join them together. That in itself is going to be a process, I guess, because you'd probably need to potentially deconstruct this wall right here. And I mean, this building. Oh, wow. Sorry, now that I'm actually noticing, I'm just thinking about the way this is set up right here. I wonder if they will actually even put the side paneling on this side, or if they'll just avoid doing what they did on this one, which was actually fully enclosing it until they get all the way across, which would make a little bit more sense. But actually joining the two sides together is going to be interesting once they get that done. In the meantime, there will be an aisle in between the two of them so they can move things by. So you can kind of see the roadblocks that they have set up over here, and also the concrete they're adding in here for where the windbreak used to be. It's like it wasn't ever there.
And it's worth noting that they're actually ripping up all the concrete already in the area that they've outlined. They've
Yeah,
been
they're
actively pulling
tearing
all of that
all
up.
this apart. Finally
Yeah,
getting these trailers moved out as well too.
yeah, they started this in the flyover, and if you jump into the ground shots, you can actually see that they've already, progressed pretty good on that.
Okay, let's see if I can find that in the ground shots. Moving the wrong direction. Give me a second. These are in a very weird order today, so I'm not. See if I can find a good shot of that. Am I just looking for like a pile of concrete down there? I don't see any images. Hold on. I really wish you guys could see the the thumbnails up here so that you could help me out, but I haven't figured out how to get those actually appear. So bear with me a second. Maybe this is a good one.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, wow. They it's like a whole different place out here.
Yeah, they're definitely going to town out there now.
Yeah, that's really exciting. I'm really glad to see that because, you know, the faster they get that done. Actually, I don't even know what to think of once they get this Star Factory completed. You know, I mean, for a while, it'll essentially be operations as normal. I mean, you'll have a little like an extra 100,000 square feet of manufacturing space because they'll probably just transfer everything from these tents directly over. But then once they finish this section of it, that's going to be when things get really crazy to me because it's just so much production capacity as it is. So I can't even imagine what it'll be like once they have all of that finished. But let's check in on this side so we can see the actual press pit down here. So they've got most of this completed. Looks like they're actually putting in the formwork down here around the edges of it.
Yeah, and it's I don't know, it's hard to tell if they've actually pulled the sheet pilings out or if they've just cut them right down around that press pit.
They cut them lengths and then they poured up to them, and they're just going to then pour the actual foundation over the top of them to the edge of the press pit.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it'll be what I think will be interesting is bringing in whatever's going to go here. I'm wondering if we'll actually see that before the roof goes on over here, or if they'll be able to get that in afterwards. I imagine that whatever's going here is really, really heavy, and so you probably want an actual crane to lift that in instead of using their, I think it's 20-ton bridge cranes that are in here.
Yeah. Bridge crane ain't gonna put this press in place. Hopefully, when it comes in, we'll get an idea of if they're going to use it for stretch forming or if it's something else. I know there's a handful of parts it could be for.
Right. And one interesting thing that we touched on last week, and I'm gonna have to go back and look at this because now I'm confused. So these 4 culverts right here are new, and these I believe are the old ones. And I think we talked about last week if these were going to be in the way of the structure, and I thought they were. So it looks like they may actually be preparing to move those over to here, which is interesting because to me that kind of says that they, like, even though they were expecting to expand the building in this direction, it may not have originally been planned to come out this far. I feel like maybe it was originally intended to go like up to here and stop. But to me, it looks like plans have changed a little bit, but just based on the way that they're moving, they appear to be moving the conduit that's down here. They haven't done it yet, but it looks like they're about to. Which I can only imagine will be kind of difficult because all of this is covered in concrete, so you got to just, I mean, it's probably not that hard to break it out, but yeah.
Definitely got to do some excavating and relocating, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, the control room for this building, I'm guessing, will probably be located in this corner, similar to the other one, which is in this bottom corner. And they kind of did the same thing down there where they had all this conduit coming up there like that. So you have your... Go ahead.
There is a question on the press pit here from Crane Man. Could the circular hole in the press pit foundation be for a pedestal crane to load the steel onto the press?
I don't think so. I mean, I can see why you would think that with this little thing down here. I don't know. I've never actually seen like what it looks like once they put something inside of a press pit, so it's tough to say on that one. I just don't think this building is going to be tall enough for that, though, because you can kind of get an idea of what the height of this building is going to be based on these right here. Obviously, it could get taller going this way, but I don't think that's what's going to happen with that. So
No, I would assume it's the butt end of that press, maybe a hydraulic cylinder or something along those lines.
something I just noticed when you zoom in on these, you can actually see the different phases labeled. So red, blue, and yellow down here, which is weird because I don't think that's the actual color code for those. Because it should be red, black, and blue. But yeah. Anyways, so moving on. But sorry, one more thing. You can see the larger lines coming in down here. So what I'm guessing there will be some transformers inside of the building as well too. So you bring in your main power through here, then it is distributed out to all of the equipment through these. I'm trying to zoom out. There we go. Yeah, this is really awesome to see the progress, and we still have these random. This section looks like they're filling in, but the section that somebody asked about last week still hasn't been filled in, and this one right here either. But yeah,
Oh, I
looks like
think the section by the bottom left corner, bottom left corner. I think that makes sense because that's right in front of the entrance for the current building. So I guess they're just leaving that clear for the time being.
yeah, which is odd. I mean, I don't think we've seen anything actually move in and out of here since they started doing this.
That's true. Yeah, that's very true.
We have another question here from Doc John. This being hurricane season, what kind of damage could all this construction sustain if Starbase gets hit by a hurricane?
Significant.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
That's
wouldn't be
definitely
pretty.
the easiest way to put it. I mean, I feel like the tents would receive more damage than anything, but I mean, this is pretty raised up, and your drainage is only meant for like regular rainstorms, not necessarily for hurricanes. I mean, they do have, at least in parts of the build site, is the container wall to like disrupt storm surge. It doesn't stop it because you can always just enter from the side, but it at least disrupts, if there's large objects moving in, it stops it from just like coming straight through here. But yeah, I mean, the tents I feel like would get more damage than the actual factory itself, but either way, they would be flooded on the inside, so that would kind of suck. But yeah, it would definitely be pretty significant. Any more questions on this area?
Let's see here. What's the estimate time to accomplish the new Star Factory from Zach Dachi?
So the one in Florida took about 6 months to reach the point where they were on this side of the building, and they really slowed down after that. And I think it's just because they started to refocus on Starbase. So, yeah, if I had to guess, I would say about 6 months. Like they took 6 months just to do this section of the building, but they constructed that a lot different than this side. So I think they're overall just moving faster right now. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's about 6 months to finish all of this.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, this is their third time doing the factory, so I suspect, this will be a whole lot faster again.
Yeah.
And then the same for the rest of the factory. It'll just keep speeding up.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. So while we're on this view, we can also see that the trenching work has made its way down towards this entrance right here. And at this point, I believe they've already crossed this. I don't know if they actually dug this out. We're going to have to look in next week's images. But we do know that they've begun trenching down to here. And yesterday, we saw them actually cutting the concrete across this entrance. So that's going to be interesting because, they're still moving in megabase sections through here. So unless they, and I just can't see this happening because the way this is set up over here, unless they start bringing the sections in through this side, it's going to get interesting for a little bit. It won't take too long because as you can see, down in this area, they've already paved over. They paved over the part that they ripped out down here. But one thing that I've heard as of this morning, this is kind of something that I touched on in the beginning of the episode. So let me grab an image from the suborbital pad really quick. So these ready ducts that are down here, these are basically enclosed like ductwork instead of like running conduit. Like this is basically the equivalent of running conduit. Well, oddly enough, it's weird that these are down here. That's just a random thought. But from what I've heard, they've been bringing these down towards the build site entrance. And so it appears that they're actually going to be using these underground in those locations instead of doing direct burial like they have everywhere else, which makes a lot of sense, in particular because you have very heavy vehicles that are moving across this. And so if there is conduit under here right now, which I don't think there is, when the vehicles actually move over here, that's when you're like kind of compressing what's under there. And so you could theoretically damage the conduit underground just by moving something that heavy over it. So I imagine that those ready ducts are intended for areas like this where you potentially have something very heavy moving over it because it gives it a little bit more protection. But yeah, as far as right now, we've seen them bring a few of those down here in this area. So that'll be interesting to watch them install that. I imagine they're going to try and get that done as quickly as possible so that they have as little disruption as possible to the actual the build site. And so one way of doing that would just be by throwing those ready ducts into the ground and then covering it back up immediately, and then they can run the actual their cables later. And I would be interested to know if they did that right here. I don't see a reason to do it because you're not moving as heavy of vehicles through there, but it is possible that they did. But with that, I think we can move up a little bit more towards the tracking station, and we can look at the village area. I'm going to try and get us a different angle of this. So yeah, the work to expand the we've heard that they're not going to expand this as far as adding more airstreams, but to me it kind of looks like they're about to do that. So we can see this little pad over here getting expanded out, and to me it just makes sense that they're going to extend this, and possibly even in this area as well too. This has been cleared up for a while though, right? I think they originally had some construction material here for these houses, but they've since cleared this out. We're gonna have to go back and check on images from this site right here. But yeah, they've in the backside over here. I mean, they're doing a lot of work to grade this and smooth it out and get rid of all of the plant material that was down there. This is such a large area. You can see them bringing in dirt back here. I think they're actually raising this up as well too, so you can kind of see there's a little bit of a slope right here. So that should help as far as like in the event of storm surge or something like that. I mean, honestly, in my opinion, most of the village is in a bad situation if they ever did have that happen. But raising it up definitely helps. I would actually like to get a ground shot of this one day just to see how much higher this is. We can see there's like 3 or 4 steps. That's not all that significant when it comes to raising it up, but it's better than being at street level.
Oh yeah, it's definitely lifted up. I was out there yesterday, and I didn't get a shot because people actually live there, so I didn't want to be out there doing that. But yeah, it is lifted up at least a few feet.
Yeah, I imagine that we will definitely see a lot of work over here in the next few weeks. Do you guys think you'd be able to, like, I feel like for me the hardest thing about if I was working at Starbase would be like living there, but this I feel like makes it a little bit better just having a village full of coworkers and whatnot. But it's a little bit isolating. Do you guys think you could live back here?
I don't
If
think
I
it'll
was,
be too bad. I think I'll be alright with it.
if I was single, I don't know if I'd want to live back there with a family.
I agree. What about you, Andy?
Not by myself, no.
Yeah,
To me,
it kind of reminds me of the oil and gas life when I was working in oil and gas. Like we constantly stayed in man camps, and a lot of the man camps um, look like they look very similar to these. So they'll be like entire parks just filled with these, and you're only in there for like 2 weeks at a time. But yeah, permanently living in one of those would be a little bit difficult for me, I think.
when I'm out there, I mean, it
Different.
seems to me that it just gives me the vibes of like a really small town. It's you see people running, jogging, working out, and just doing their thing, and you see them with their families. So it is a little small community, and it's starting to feel a little bit more. I guess they accept it, or there's some type of adjustment that needs to be made to accept that lifestyle, right?
Yeah. Yeah, what I do wonder is if these are like in particular maybe temporary housing where you like come and stay for 2 weeks and then you're off for a while. I'm not sure what kind of schedule they are on anymore. Um, but yeah, that's I mean it's kind of cool though the way they have that situated. It's a little not a whole lot of privacy, but you know, it is what it is. So moving more in this direction, there's not a ton going on um, over in this area. Kind of looking about the same as always. At the integration building,
Yeah, they don't seem to. They don't seem to have really done much on improving the access to the back of the Starlink building.
Nope.
yeah, I've been wondering about that, like actually putting a road back here. I mean, they do have some. It looks like some road base, and they're dropping off more of it in this image. So I wonder if we'll actually see a driveway going back there soon. It's been a long time for this building to be here without that. I mean, especially if this is supposed to be like somewhat of a clean room for those Starlink satellites. Um, yeah.
About as clean as it'll get in Starbase.
True, true.
See that Versa they use to lift that those two big tanks has not left, so that would indicate the third tank is probably somewhere on the way.
Yeah. And that reminds me, let's go back over to the Sanchez site. So, um, one of the things that I noticed over here is that they're actually deconstructing those trailers. So instead of driving them back empty like that, they're taking them apart and shipping them back in pieces, which probably makes things way easier to move it. So I imagine that we'll probably see at least one of these return with another tank, since there is a spot for another tank out there at the launch site. And on that note, we could go over to the launch site. I do want to touch on one more thing at the village, and that is basically just you can see that they've already finished up that trench through here and replaced the concrete. So they got that work done pretty quickly. It took about 2 weeks.
Yeah, it looks pretty clean too.
Yeah, you can barely tell that it happened. Down here, you can tell a little bit more. We did see that it looked like they had a directional driller down there, a horizontal directional driller to go underneath the streets, but also these clearly look like they've been dug up. So I'm not sure where they actually used that. But yeah, just moving along this wall, you can see that they went really fast with getting all that done. So. And with that, unless you all had something that you wanted to add about anything that we've touched on, or if there's any remaining questions in this area, I think we may be able to head over to the launch site.
I
Yeah,
did
while you move
notice
over.
one tiny.
Yeah, go ahead.
As I say, yeah, I just noticed one little thing on the very top right corner of the solar farm. I think those are the same two tanks that we saw near the gas wells at Sanchez a little while ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I guess we can go over to the Sanchez site really quick to see if those are still there. And I don't think they are. Yeah, they're originally down in here. They've been bringing a lot more. They've been bringing even more equipment in here lately, so it doesn't surprise me that they got rid of those from this area.
The water trucks are gone too.
Yeah, those are the ones we're talking about. The ones the two that are right there. They're now sitting right here.
Well, would you look at that?
Yeah, I think they were just like kind of wait. They don't really have a place to permanently store these right now since everything's under construction at the same time. So, finally getting things out of the way enough so they can actually move these somewhere else. Cool. Anything else from this area?
I think we've pretty much covered everything there. I mean, there's the two shiplifter arms there, but yeah, not really any change with those. We're still waiting on more hardware to be able to use those.
Yeah. Actually, I was wondering about that. In the ring yard, there is, next to the mid bay. That's not the mid bay.
Oh yeah.
But
So there's one thing out here. Is this the completed? Is this the one that they've been using in the high bay, or is this a different one?
That's the one that was connected to Ship 29 recently.
So is Ship 29 just not connected to anything right now?
Yeah, I think it's just standing on its own transport stand now.
Yeah, the new one's over at the crane yard, the SPMT storage area.
So this is not a third one. It's the one that have already had.
Yeah.
Okay. Wonder what's supporting Ship 28 while it has its payload bay open. Guessing it may.
I think the bridge crane. I think that's last time I checked. It was holding on to Ship 28.
With just the regular squid or what?
Yeah, I think so.
Huh. I may have some ground images that could show us that really quick because I'm interested in knowing. Let me swap to some ground images. Then we'll head over to the build site. And while I'm looking, the launch site, while I'm doing this, if you all can do me a favor, if you haven't already, and hit that like button, we really appreciate all the support from all of you who have done that so far. And to those of you who are about to do that, thank you as well. And I answer my question up here.
Yeah, false alarm. It was connected at one point. But yeah, I don't actually know. I guess it's just supporting itself now, Ship 28.
Hey, I guess that's a pretty strong payload section. Awesome.
Yeah, we'll soon find out.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Well, let's I guess head over to the launch site then. And as I mentioned earlier, we finally have started to see them move some of these, which is cool. I actually thought they were going to be used more at the launch site, but yeah, I guess we haven't seen them be used at the launch site yet. So they may all actually be for conduit that's going to the Sanchez, which will be interesting. But moving on, we have seen a cryo test from Ship 25. I don't know if it was actually supposed to be an engine test, but that didn't happen. No spin primes or static fires yet. And do we have any closures for this week?
Yeah, I think we've got one for Tuesday and Wednesday currently. Maybe Thursday, but I'm not 100% sure.
Okay. Yeah, so I guess we're still waiting on that static fire for Ship 25. But it looks like they're cleared out waiting for that. So I'm guessing we'll maybe finally see that this week. Again, I'm still surprised that they're even doing that yet because, it's not like they're behind on ship testing. If anything, they're behind on booster testing. So I'm surprised that they're even willing to take the time to shut the site down so that they can do that kind of testing. But looking just through the suborbital site, see if there's any other changes. Not really noticing a whole lot back here. What's up with this? This has been here for a while, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm almost wondering if that's like a nitrogen storage tank for the deluge, but we will end up finding that out here in the next few weeks. Not a whole lot happening up here. They're still replacing some of the paneling on in this area up here, but most of this actual structure has been completed as far as the repaneling goes. So almost like it never happened.
That looks a lot better now.
Yeah, it doesn't have any more shrapnel damage on it. Yeah, they've got some down here that they're replacing as well, but I mean, that's a little bit less important. But yeah, that's probably all we got for the suborbital side, so I'm not gonna stay over here too long. We can move over to the orbital tank farm, where we have a lot of work going on. So number one, we're still waiting on, and I'm going to get a better view of this really quick. So we did see another one of these tanks arrive via a barge that's currently sitting at the dock or the port of Port Isabel, and so we're still waiting on them to actually finish the base of this, which I don't know. They're probably not in much of a rush on it because they probably can't bring the tank in here anyways until they finish what they're doing here. But on that note, I think they may actually be done with these CFA piles now, right? I know this drilling rig is still set up there right now, but we haven't seen it do much over the last few days.
I mean, we could probably, if you look down there, you can see more cages due to go in. So I guess that'll give us a good idea of where they were up to at this point.
Yeah, and I think this flyover was on Wednesday, and I believe they were still working after this day. Like I'm pretty sure they put more down on Thursday. I didn't see them do anything on Friday, but I imagine most of these are maybe gone, if not all of them now.
Yeah, I mean, it's safe to say it's piling central over there from all the drilling we've seen.
Yeah, from what we can have counted, I think there's over 180 of them. Not sure what the final count is. I imagine probably close to 200, but yeah, that's pretty crazy, the amount of work down here. And one thing that I've kind of been thinking is that I'm not 100% certain if we're really actually expecting to see tanks like this here, because there is not any kind of foundation like that for any of these tanks. So I'm wondering if there's just going to be something way larger or what, because or even two rows of tanks stacked on top of each other somehow. Like I don't think I've ever seen anything like that with something this large, but I mean, it would explain why they have so much support down here, because right now it's kind of a mystery why they do have why they have this much support on the foundations.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say we can expect a serious amount of weight going on that bit of ground there.
Yeah, 100%. And you can kind of see that they have, I think it's like 3 or 4 rows of these. It's hard to really tell until they dig this out. But it's hard to see. Oh,
Yeah,
wow. I didn't notice these ones down here.
Yeah, I was just about to say there's a little triangle of them as well.
What the heck? Now that makes no sense at all. Yeah, I'm wondering if this is something completely different than what we're expecting it to be. I mean, it only makes sense for the tank farm extension to go here, but just with the way that they're preparing for this, I'm not so sure like what we're actually going to end up seeing here. But up in this area, you can see there's a row of them right here, and then another row right here, and I think this may be another one right there. So I think there's like three rows of them.
Really tough. Do we have any more? Do we have any more further up as well? Sort of like the triangle down the bottom. So yeah, above that trench.
I don't see any. Let me get another image of that. Yeah, because the other ones are like right over, wait, up here. So I guess we would be expecting them down in this area. I don't see anything down there. Huh. Yeah, this is going to be a huge mystery. I'm kind of excited to see what they end up throwing here. Whatever it is, I'm confident that it's going to be larger than these. I will be very surprised if it's the same size tanks. Like that'll just throw up so many questions for me that I don't even know how to answer them. I do have some ideas, but I'll save those. I'm kind of working on a little project to try and explain that a little bit, but I'm gonna have to wait to see a little bit more progress on that. But like I said, we are definitely at least expecting to see that one methane tank here. Then hopefully, if they are actually done with this, we'll see them start to prepare whatever is going to go down there. But inside of the tank farm, they've got a lot of work going on the actual like pipe work, preparing for whatever is going to happen as far as those new tanks go. So that's going to be quite a job. I'm going to go back to this side. Yeah, we see tons of pipes down in here. And there's a new manifold over here, a few pipes back there. So whatever they're doing in here, it's tough to tell right now until we actually fully like see the end of it. But yeah, I mean, hold on, sorry. Right here is a bunch of, we have a bunch of pipe racks right here, which will probably go in between here and those new tanks over there, I'm assuming. But then there's also a bunch of conduit racks right here, which will, or cable trays, I guess you can call them, which will also probably go down in that direction. They do have some that they need to replace in here that got damaged, like specifically on top of this roof. Some of this stuff got damaged. And I think if we look at the back side of here, yeah, there was a entire conduit or cable tray that went all the way across here, which is also no longer there. All that got damaged, so I'm guessing some of that will be able to replace that as well too. But tons of work.
Yes. Interestingly, though, we don't seem to see any indication yet of more subcoolers or pumps being added.
You know, I'm not so certain that these will even be able to remain here. Like, especially the LOX ones being so far away from the source. Like, I don't know if they want them that far away.
That's the point. Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised to actually see these end up moving. But yeah, I've also noticed that they dug up this little trench down here. So, and this pipe kind of goes back inside of there. So I think this may actually be the nitrogen supply for the tanks that we're about to look at here in a second. But other than that, we talked about last week how they actually repaired this tank. So let's take a look at that from the ground again.
I mean, yeah, I guess it's kind of better. Still not ideal, but yeah, there we go.
I mean, it could be worse.
Yeah, that's true.
They've got it all
It
painted
looks
now, so it's like looks a little bit better.
Yeah.
It did the job, right?
Oh yeah, it's certainly a lot less caved in than there was.
Yeah. I'm excited to see what happens once they actually get rid of these. I mean, obviously with them gone, that clears up all this space in the center for them to put something there as well too. So after this next launch, I feel like we'll see a ton of work over here. I feel like they're only like truly just getting started right now.
Zach, do you think the new tanks where we're seeing what we assume will be tanks where all those CFAs are going in, do you think that's going to be nitrogen?
I think so. I mean, just because to me it doesn't make sense to have liquid oxygen right next to your methane, but yeah, I mean it's possible that it could be either or though. I mean, it could potentially be both. I just personally don't think there's enough surface area here unless they double stack them. So Yeah, I mean, there's still this pad over here, which they've, other than the pipes that are sitting here, like there's still a clear path for them to like put a big LOX tank and pumps back here if they wanted to. So I'm interested to see if that'll end up happening. If that's the case, I'm still expecting this to be mostly liquid nitrogen.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how everyone else feels, but yeah, I'm kind of sad that the original tank design didn't really work out because yeah, I thought it looked pretty cool. And now it's just going to be horizontal tanks just spread everywhere.
I agree with that for sure. I mean, I really liked the original tank farm design. It's gonna look pretty. I don't even know the PC word to say here, but it'll look interesting to say the least. The way it's all kind of reoriented, but I don't know. It may actually look better. I mean, it's just going to be a massive amount of tanks, and just in general, like whether they're horizontal or vertical tanks, it's still semi sketchy how close it is to the launch pad. But yeah, it's going to look much different when it's finished.
It's going to look like a refinery with a rocket launch tower popping up in the middle of it. That's what it's going to look like.
Essentially,
Yeah.
yeah. But on that note, let's go ahead and move over to the water cooled steel plates, which is basically what we've been waiting for the last 2 months so far. And they've got a ton of work going on down here. You can see that we saw them add in these 2 tanks last week. And as we mentioned, there's not only space for a third one, but somewhere over here there's an actual.
Are you looking for the cradles?
Yeah.
They are near that upright 90-degree bend pipe, I think.
Really?
If you go down to the back of the launch site, and then go to where that 90-degree bend is coming up out the ground between the tanks and the launch tower. Maybe they moved them again.
Yeah, I could have sworn
Yeah,
they were out here.
they were. Yeah, that's the
left.
last place I remember seeing them.
Oh, here they are.
Over there to the left, yeah.
Yeah. So
Oh, yeah.
we can tell they're going to be adding in 1 additional tank right here. So probably expecting to see those be transported down once they get that the actual transporter back up to, what was it? Where did they come from? I don't remember what state that was.
Oh,
Somewhere up north.
God, yeah.
Kentucky?
Yeah.
No, it was above Ohio because WL Animal saw them come through his area.
Okay. Yeah, somewhere up north. So I'm expecting that we'll probably, I don't know if they're necessary for what they need to do to get ready for this next launch, but if so, then we'll probably see that be moved here relatively quickly. Right now, something that they still need to do is alter these tanks because they don't have any actual outlets to connect to this manifold down here, so they're probably under there doing that right now. But as you can all see, they're currently working on getting these the gas manifold set up on the back of these tanks. And I think I have some decent ground shots that show that. It's a little bit dark in some of these images, but I think we should be able to see it relatively well. So this is the backside of one of those tanks, and you can see that they've got this manifold up there and a lot of the these little pipes that are coming off it that connect to each of the tanks. So they are currently up in there welding all those together, which must be pretty fun. Oh,
Yeah, it's amazing seeing how much this has all come together now.
yeah. I mean, if we look at these ones too, you can see that I think they got this manifold up there last week. They got valves on both sides of it. I'm assuming that this is for water, but it could easily be for gas as well too. It's really tough to tell.
I think you could see you might be able to see from the other side in the flyover that it does seem to go down towards the gas cylinders and the manifolds over there.
Right. Yeah. So it comes down under here and then goes this direction to the gas cylinders.
Yeah.
The question is whether or not this is going to remain in its exact position. I do see the supports on the ground, which kind of say that it isn't going to move. That may just be like what it's sitting on as they do this. There is a possibility that this whole manifold will move, but it's very interesting manifold that they have going on. So this is like basically the micro version of the big one that came from Florida. Except this is for gas, not water. So you can see that this is the all of the gas manifolds in the back of this connect to this manifold. So I think these are valves in between here. And the question is whether or not, like, how this is all separated. So it looks like half of them feed into this one, and then the other half feed into this black pipe on top. And then there's another one underneath, which no idea what's going on with that one. But yeah, this looks like another version of that large water manifold that was originally here, which we can confirm is now scrapped. But yeah, this is kind of crazy the way this is set up.
Yeah, and I guess we should probably see an offload port there as well, shouldn't we, for the gas cylinder tanks to fill them up. So I guess that's part of what that pipe hook on the ground might be as well.
You mean to fill these tanks?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, good point. So, I'm kind of expecting that an underground pipe will come all the way from the tank farm, and like basically go all the way around. Here, let me get another image. So they have this. Okay, I can't really see it. Oh, get a better angle of that. Which one of these pictures is going to show it the best? This one might show it. Cool. So you can see that they dug this pipe down through underground, and it's like just sitting here waiting. So I have a feeling that this is actually connected to the new vaporizers, the vaporizer that we saw in front of the liquid nitrogen tank several months ago. So I think that this will be vaporizing the liquid nitrogen into gaseous nitrogen, and then there's pumps, 2 pump skids over here, which could be sending pressurized gas all the way around the launch mount and over to those tanks. I think that might be what's about to happen. Because what we don't have over here is like any vaporizers to allow like liquid nitrogen tankers to offload and fill these tanks. So I think that they may just fill them on demand, coming from the main storage.
I suppose, yeah, there's going to be the same sort of case with the actual water supply tanks as well. Is where they're going to be filling those from.
Right. Yeah, and one thing we've also seen, so they have this, I almost want to call it like a dog leg for the to connect to the larger pipe manifold and the one underground. And in the ground images, we can see that they have gotten the second one up. So this is what they look like side by side. Pretty large difference between those 2 pipes. So I think this one's about 5 feet, I think. And I think this one is the 4 foot. I could be wrong on that. They look almost, this almost looks like 3 feet versus 5 feet. I'd have to ask Ryan Hansen Space, who actually modeled these out. But yeah, so you have both of these pipes down here. Man, this is going to be really crazy. I can only imagine what it would sound like standing near these when all the water is flowing through them. But you can tell they're going to be moving very, very large volumes of water through these.
Yeah, and it's interesting as well. Obviously, you've got the smaller pipe connected to the big tanks, and then the big pipes connected to the smaller tanks.
Yeah. I mean, that almost tells me that the smaller tanks will be pushing out that volume a lot faster versus the larger tanks for some reason would.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's very, very odd. It's kind of hard, in my opinion, to like really gather an idea of like how this is fully going to work without seeing what the smaller pipe is connected to, because right now, at the actual launch mount, we don't have anything coming out of the ground yet, so it's really tough to see like where all the manifolds are going to go. And even Ryan Hansen Space and Chrome Kiwi, their interpretation of it has been changing as things change on the ground. And so, on that note, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the images that show the base of the launch mount. And it looks like they are finally getting to work on this pile cap. So that is a very large amount of rebar under there. Now this is a little interesting because I don't see concrete underneath this. There could be a layer underneath it, but I don't think so. And so it's a little bit weird because to me, this is not the actual pile cap. Like, this is what goes on top of the pile cap. So I'm a little unsure what's happening there unless there actually is a layer of concrete down here. But usually it would be like this, where they have your base layer of your pile cap and then put the rebar cage on top of that. And now they're actually expanding this over into that area as well too. I imagine this is like fully. I think this is probably complete by this point because they've been lifting in a lot of rebar over the last few days.
I don't believe there's any concrete on top down there. For whatever reason, they needed a work area to the right side, and they didn't finish it off. So,
yeah, that's a little confusing. I'm not sure why they would. It's abnormal, I think, for the way you normally make these pile caps, but it seems like there's one underneath the launch mount. Can't really, that's on the back side of the launch mount. Let me.
It goes under there partially, yeah. It's that first pour. It's that piece of that same one.
Right, that comes underneath here.
Yeah. One of the things I wonder if it had something to do with the two vaults that are there that they're trying to, kind of preserve and make sure they don't collapse. And maybe this is an interim step they decided to do there for that reason. But
yeah, I mean, it's either way. It's a ton of rebar work, and they're moving through it very, very fast. I'm actually surprised at how quickly they've gotten all this down here. I mean, it's actually, I think, moving faster than what they did for the Mega Bay. We've also seen them actually break away all the concrete that was surrounding these conduit down here. So that was interesting to me. I've been wondering if these were somehow damaged, and it honestly kind of looks like they are to me a little bit. I actually, no, I didn't. I thought I saw some that were like disconnected, but maybe that's just the way they move. But yeah, you can see the actual vault boxes down here, and these are going straight to the vault boxes. So, yeah, and they may have just. Go ahead.
Is that formwork going up around them as well, or is that something else? The yellow stuff I can see going on there.
It could be. Yeah, it doesn't look like they've set it up yet, but yeah, it could be that they've already put that formwork up by now. But major progress down here. Then, I mean, the next step obviously is going to be to put this layer down, and then I think there may be an even larger pad in the center, which like a little bit higher up than what this one goes. So it's maybe done in phases. I'm not really 100% certain, but that's kind of what it looks like right now. Yeah, very, very awesome to see this much progress. I mean, it's definitely not the 2 months that Elon was saying, but it's also not into 2024 like I was initially thinking. So yeah, making some huge progress. I mean, we've seen a little bit of progress on the actual launch mount itself. So like they do have the Raptor QDs in, but they, as you can tell, still don't have the new clamps installed yet. Obviously, don't really need those until you're ready to bring another booster out here. So, removing all these clamps also, by the way, like if the launch mount was not completely level, like we were thinking it's not, this gives them the chance to actually fix that issue. So I'm kind of interested in finding out. I mean, there would be no way to know unless the next time we see a full stack, whether or not they kind of line up a little bit better. But I have a feeling they'll be doing some work to actually make sure that these are a little bit more level than what they were before. Now that they have all of them off.
Yeah, I was looking at the top of the launch ring. I've noticed they opened some gaps up in the top of the shielding a while ago, and now they seem to have welded plates back over them again. I don't think we ever really saw what actually happened with the holes they opened.
Nope. Yeah, I mean there should be camera cables that go up through there, so they could have been just trying to access those cables that are going underneath there. But
Maybe, yeah.
yeah, tough to tell. We've also seen some new work on the booster QD, so I'm gonna go back over to those ground images again. So not the best angle to show it from. Let's see. Here we go. So over the last week, they added this plate on here, which is, I mean, essentially the same thing that we were expecting the burn plates on the top of the launch mount look like. So you can see all these holes in here for them to do their plug welds. And I mean, they're basically increasing the thickness of the plates that are on the outside of the booster QD. I'm guessing that they actually noticed some wear on this after the first launch. I don't know how they're measuring that, but yeah, I mean, it looks like they're just adding more protection onto the outside of it, which is kind of crazy how heavy that is. I mean, that's like at least 1.5 to 2 inches thick.
Is it stainless? It looks like it's stainless also.
It does, yeah. It looks like it's stainless. Yeah, so assuming there will also be another one on the other side and then probably come all the way up to protect this. Gonna be very interesting. I think that they end up actually plugging these as well after, so they cut these in there so that they can weld along the inside, and then I think they may put a plug on top of each of these and then weld that as well too. I can only imagine how difficult something like this would be to take back off if you needed to, but still interesting progress. It kind of makes sense why they a little bit makes sense why they took off the BQD if they were going to be doing work like this, or the back of the hood at least. I wonder if they're actually upgrading the cover as well too right now.
Yeah, and of course the hoses we've seen removed from there. We've seen those hanging off the side of the rafter installation platform as well.
Yeah, I don't think we have images of that this week. Let me double check.
I think
up here.
I did. Yeah, I think I
we
did
had
see
some
a
last
small
week.
glimpse.
I do not see it up here. I'll do a little bit of a searching back here as we continue to go and see if I can find it. But I know we had some images of it last week. I don't see it up here right now though.
We can do donations if you'd like
No.
while you're looking. We can
Not
do donations if you like while you're looking.
Sure. Yeah, I can bring up an image from last week as well too.
All right, real fast. I want to say thank you to Crane Man, who donated $23.88, as well as to John D, who donated $5 and says, slap the taste out of that like button's mouth, y'all. I think he's trying to say hit the like button.
That's certainly one way of saying it.
And then we also have donations from Rocket Profit, who donated $10, and John D, who again donated $10, and he says, "Let the green slinging commence," and that's because Rocket Profit said he has to sling some green to make some friends when he did his $10 donation. And that's it for all the donations for now. Thank you, guys.
Real quick, talking about likes, I will be dropping a wallpaper download. I guess I like the image. I'm sure you all would like it too as well. So, hit that like button. I'll drop it as soon as we reach 1,000 likes. And yeah, I'll drop it for everybody to download. High resolution should be between 40 megapixels. Not sure how to read, but between 40 and 60 megapixels. All right, that's it for me. Moving on.
And I found the image I was looking for. So here it is. This is the Raptor maintenance platform. for the launch mount, which has got all of these hoses hanging from it. Super odd. They do have I mean, each of these has a hose connected to them, so I don't know if they're like blowing these down with something, like they're trying to like purge them of something. I don't know. Can't really see what
You
these are
know, it's
connected to.
you know it's coming to something when even the hoses have hoses in Starbase.
Agreed. Yeah. I mean, this is the weird part about this is I just don't see anything for all of these to connect to up there. I don't know if there's something sitting up top here or something or what.
I mean, it's pretty low profile if there is something on top of there.
Yeah. Agreed. Cool. Let me go back over to those. Oops. What did I just do? Give me 1 second. Okay, I guess that picture's stuck in its position there. Anyways, sorry, getting back to those ground shots. Cool. Yeah, where was I? Forgot what I was saying.
Yeah, I know. I noticed a lot of tops going up around the bottom of the launch ring as well now.
Finally, yeah, I mean, we've seen a little bit of work in there. They've gotten rid of those flex hoses that were connecting all the water pipes together, but and there was another pipe that they added in there as well. But other than that, we haven't seen much going on. I have a feeling that they're doing something with the main fuel supply in here right now. I don't know if the tarp goes all the way around. It
Yeah, I think the pipe, if it's the one I'm thinking of, yeah, it goes
yeah,
about
it goes
halfway around.
And these images were taken a little bit later last night, so yesterday evening, so it's a little difficult to see some of these details underneath here. But yeah, that tarp definitely does go all the way around. Yeah, there's a new pipe coming through here, and I believe there's another one down here. So it'll be really interesting to see once they get rid of all this, what's actually been done down here, because with all of this up, and especially with the scaffolding, it's really, really difficult to actually see what's going on there. But let me go back up to the aerial images, make sure I didn't miss anything there. Oh, there was one thing that I just find really odd. So on the front of the integration tower, we saw that this stairway got set up, and I don't know. I'm a little lost on this one, not gonna lie, because it doesn't really make sense. Let me see if I can get a better.
Yeah, I did notice they do seem to have actually welded it to the housing on the tower base.
Yeah, it's just
Or
way
look
too
like they're
tall.
about to.
It's just
Oh,
way
yeah, I
too
don't
tall.
get it.
I mean, it gives them access to in here, even though they don't have a opening there yet. I mean, that's what I initially thought this was mostly access for. But I mean, with it going all the way up to the top like this, I'm almost wondering if they're going to remove this upper the cover for this. So like on the tower in Florida, all of this stuff, all of this framework is made out of concrete. So I do wonder if there's a possibility that they may actually like change this up so that it's a flat surface instead of being a sloped one, and then have it actually connect to the stairs. But like why you would put the stairs in before that, no idea.
Yeah, it does look a little out of place at the moment, I got to admit.
Agreed. But check out all this rebar on the ground down here. That's a lot of rebar.
Yeah, I wonder what that guy's thinking of staring at all that rebar.
A
He's
lot
probably
of work.
thinking, where does he start with?
um, cool. Is there anything else we want to touch on? We do have 10 minutes left, but I wanted to save some time because I believe Thomas is with us. So let's go ahead and answer some questions if we have any left over right now.
Yes, so we have a couple of questions here. Let's see. The first one's going to be from Knowledge is Good. Could they use the vertical LN2 for locks? They will be protected by the ones close to the OLM.
Yeah. I mean, theoretically, like if everything goes well, and which I think it will, like with this new setup that they have going, like, I mean, if it doesn't, then we got really, really big problems because I can't see any other solution working over here other than what they currently have. Like, you're not going to just build a flame trench. You would actually need to remove the entire launch mount in order to even attempt to do something like that. And you'd also have to increase the height of the tower. But with that being said, assuming everything goes well, that tank farm should never get damaged ever again, even though it's still in not the greatest position. I mean, I just wonder. I do wonder if there's other reasons why they're removing it, because all of this work that they're doing to do this was already planned ahead of time. Like they didn't just make this decision after this event took place. Like you just don't mobilize and begin construction that quickly after an event like that. So in my mind, this was planned long in advance. So I just wonder if there's another issue altogether, other than just the fact that it's like inconvenient because of its ability to be damaged. I mean, if everything goes well and you're not shooting concrete into the tank farm, I think these probably work just fine. So I don't know. I mean, it's weird to me that they are being moved, even though it makes sense. Like by now, the I guess arguably bad design is already here. Like I love this design, don't get me wrong, but in their mind, it's a bad idea, and yeah, just with its proximity to the launch mount. But it's already there, and if it's not, if you can expect it not to get damaged because you are no longer worried about the launch mount failing, I honestly don't see a reason to move it. But yeah, we're gonna find out here very quickly.
All right. The next question here is from M10. Do you think the stainless shielding will cover the bottom around the crowd pipes?
The water cooled plates, no. Yeah, they'll pretty much, I think, start. I think they start like around here and go underneath the legs, but they're not going to extend out to where the cryo pipes are.
All right, and I mean that's it for the launch site. We can open up the floor for Thomas here if he's ready to chime in already.
Hey, Mauricio. Hey, Zach.
Hey,
I heard Indian Star earlier and quite a few others.
Hi, Thomas.
Hey, Dom.
Yep. How you doing, Thomas?
Pretty good, all things considered. So, I guess to let everybody know what's going on, I'm leaving the community totally. So that means leaving Discord and a lot of other things. So it's going to be hard to, I guess, get a reach of me, but I'll check it every once in a while, see what's going on. But I just wanted to say with a heavy heart that I'm going to miss everybody. It's been a little bit of time coming, but the main thing was I had a dream of doing more of this kind of stuff. Basically analyzing pictures and all of these in-depth analysis and even going beyond. But that dream has since died, so I'm no longer feeling like that is the direction I want to go. I wanted to actually do things a bit more different, get out in the world, do some different things, and see where that takes me.
Well, I'm definitely super sad to hear that. When I started off doing commentary, it was on the Lab Hydro channel, and I still do commentary over there when things are happening. But definitely Thomas was the one who kind of got me into that stuff and kind of opened up the floor for me to even realize that was a possibility. So, really, really sad to hear that. But I think that taking care of what you know is best for yourself is definitely something that everybody should do. And but beyond that, I think everybody who is in this audience could probably agree that we're definitely gonna miss you, and definitely thank you for all of the contributions that you've made to this community so far, because I feel like you're definitely an integral part in getting all of us out here to do what we do every week.
I mean, I started off all this stuff. I came into Lab Server. I was going through pictures and screen sharing, basically, just to talk about what's going on, and basically it became what's called show and tell, and then that got copied over to RGV server, and then that stopped for a bit, and then we changed over to calling it Rocket Talk on our on Lab Server, and so this became a much shorter version, because we would go 8 to 14 hours into things and really do some deep dives into like every little nut and bolt of this place and understanding exactly how everything works. And that still is kind of what we're going through here. But it's a lot of the changes and updates, and it's always fantastic to do. Keeps everybody up to date, keeps everybody informed, and my favorite part was trying to connect the dots. So I'd kind of do a couple of different methods to do that. Like I'd basically, especially on show and tells, throw a little bit of spaghetti on the wall, see what stuck. What was the general idea? Where could we go through and find this? But it became contentious when debates would occur before, or like not even debates, but debates would be shut down even before they could occur, and that really just killed it for me. And it was basically a death by 1,000 cuts. So now I'm a little bit off on that, but it's still exciting to go through, watch you going through these photos, and it's like, ooh, I've got ideas on how they could still do some of this stuff. Like I'm thinking about MCAR and Sanchez and what they're doing there, and connecting the dot to maybe what they're doing with the old former landing pad. There's still plenty of material here. It's just, getting shut down is not something I want to be going through each time that we discuss these things, and so I've been wanting to move forward and doing something better, but that dream is basically dead. That was the thing that really stunk here, and so it wasn't just one person or one event; it was 1,000 cuts. So, I just wanted to thank everybody for having me for all this time and listening to my thoughts and ideas and opinions about what's going on here, and just believing this future still exists that SpaceX has got going on here. It's going to be an amazing future that I still hope to be somehow a part of it, but it's not in this direction at this point.
Well, I just know, Thomas, you've always got a place to come back to if you ever feel the need. And just know that obviously me, and I'm sure a lot of other people, you have inspired them quite a bit to join in doing this kind of stuff. Because I think if I never met you on the La Padre server, I don't think I'd be right now doing this stuff. So I just want to say a massive thank you to doing what you've done over these past few years. And it sucks to see you go, but we'll just wish you all the best for the future.
Yeah, I just have to do what's right for me, and thank you, Jake, for your kind words, and Zach and Dave and Nate, Indian Star, especially Mauricio. It's been an honor working with you all these years. We've been doing different things at different times, but really it was when we started doing these RGV weeklies that really things took off here. So it's been just exciting all the time to go through this stuff, and I'm sad to leave and see you all go, but it's about time.
Well,
Hey, Thomas.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I guess just on my end, I mentioned it before, but the inspirations to start Starbase Weekly, it was all from what you were doing at the Rocket Talks over at Lab Padre server, and we appreciate everything you've done for us, and you're truly going to be missed. So, and the community in the chat section, they're wishing you the best. I wish you the best, and thank you so much for everything you've done for us.
Yeah, thank you, Mauricio. It's been an honor.
Yeah, I could just say ditto, but when I came in kind of to the community, it was through Lab Server, like a lot of people. And I'm more of a talker than a typer. And so when I jumped into voice chat, when y'all were doing things, you were always super accommodating, even for us newbies. So I appreciated that. And so I'm definitely going to miss you. And I hope you can, at times, maybe sneak back in for a visit here or there, or maybe at some point down the future, you'll be able to take a deep enough breath and go, okay, I want to jump back into this stuff. But nonetheless, you're going to be wishing you your best as you do whatever's next, Thomas.
Thank you so much, Nate. It's definitely been an honor talking with you as well. I do remember everybody coming in as far as Lab Server. It has always been an interesting endeavor. It's something where people would jump in, and I would usually try to find the people who just barely be chiming in, and I'd try to pick on them a little bit and ask them, what else they think about things, and try to get them to talk a bit more, just to get them out of that shell. And it often would work, and that was always nice. Some people would just come in just in chat with the typing, and I would read off what they would say, just to try to get everybody involved in some small way, because it's always interesting to get everybody's opinions on these things and learn and grow together. So yeah, it's definitely a bit emotional here, but I wanted to thank everybody again. It's been a quiet, crazy, wild ride.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. It's going to be a little bit difficult without you. It's a lot of work for just doing it with one host. So I do hope that you do end up changing your mind in the future. But like I said, I fully understand. I feel the same way sometimes. It's a little difficult doing what we do. So thank you for being able to do what you did as long as you were. I mean, like I said, we're all extremely grateful for the contributions that you've made, and definitely wish you luck on the next step.
Yeah, thank you, Zach, and also thank you to the community just for their outpouring here about wishing me well. I've gotten quite a few DMs from everybody to thank me and to wish me best endeavors. So thank you for all of those kind responses as well. Well, with that, I'll go ahead and sign off. It's been an honor, and I'll hand it over to you, Zach.
All right. Thank you, Thomas. Hopefully we'll talk soon. All right. Well, I think with that, we are kind of at the end of the hour right here, but definitely wanted to take some time so Thomas could kind of let you all know what was going on with him. But yeah, we do have some final donations, I think, that came in towards the end there. So, Indy, if you want to acknowledge those before we end today's show.
Do you want to read it?
Let me check.
I got it. It's a $10 donation from John Dopker. Thank you, John.
Yeah, and we also have. I don't know if I missed this one earlier. There was the $100 donation for 55 Chevy guy. Says thanks thanks for all the time and insight that Thomas has contributed to our community, and I second that as well. So thank you, 55 Chevy guy, for that. And thank you to everybody else who donated during today's show. You guys are greatly appreciated, and thank you all for allowing us to do what we do, because, as you can tell, it is a little bit taxing, especially on your Saturdays, and, what we do for the show and tells, like after the actual, the day that Mauricio does his flyovers and the ground shot. So it is a ton of work, and all of your contributions go a long way into allowing us to keep doing this. So thank you to everyone for contributing to that, and I will go ahead and sign off for here today, and I'll pass this off to Nate.
Yeah, going to be a sad day for a while, knowing Thomas is going to take a step away. But hope everybody has a great week, and we'll see you again soon. Jake?
Did we lose Jake?
Oh,
We might have
sorry, I
lost
have
Jake.
to press, yeah. I have to press the button for push to talk. Yeah, so obviously I'm sad to see Thomas going. And obviously I've learnt a hell of a lot of stuff from the guy. And yeah, as I said earlier, I wouldn't be where I am now if I didn't meet him. And yeah, it's been great being on the stream with you guys today and looking through all these awesome new images from Mauricio. With that, I'll pass it to Zach.
Oh, I've already gone. But Mauricio, if you want to wrap it up for us.
Yeah, I'm gonna wrap it up. And Indian Star says goodbye to everybody, and like everybody has said, thank you, Thomas. We love you. We'll miss you. And main engine cut off. State separation confirmed. Love you. Bye.